time for EEEZ Around the Table with your host, Easy, who I'm pretty sure is easier than me. Earmuffs, kids. Adults only. Just the way I like it.
And that's the way I like it. Put on the fucking earmuffs. Because we might curse on this show. I'm sorry. I think I just blew out Jim's ears. But hey, I'm just having one of those nights. You know, it's time now to get some stuff out of me, you know. And I'm not a cursor for dramatic effect. I just love dramatic effect. So there we go. But it's a Tuesday night, 10 o'clock. Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com, the Legend Sports Network. This is EEEZ Around the Table. And we at least have a table tonight.
Yeah, so it's a tri-pronged table.
Yeah, we try to have a table.
We have one seat open for those who've come and gone.
Oh no, they just updated. I can have, I think, up to 10 people in the room, but actually show 6 screens at one time and then rotate them. So we could have, and we've had those numbers, but our numbers have dwindled, which is
summertime.
First of all, JR Slice from the chat room. Mr. Jim Ross, I think, because you log in 2 different ways. Sometimes you're JR something 92 or something.
No, I'm just Jim Ross at my work because they blocked everything at my work a few months ago. So I somehow just get there by Yahoo. So it's just like my name.
All right. And then we have Doug Boyles at Urban Baboon. The Dugout Show on Saturdays at 10, which I now miss all the time. Saturday morning is, especially in Ohio, it rains every Saturday afternoon. So I got to get up early, get my shit done, because the rest of the afternoon I'll be watching golf or women's soccer, and I just can't.
The great thing was, like, this weekend, you were listening.
What?
This weekend, because we knew you were listening, I got to steal one of your jokes.
You still good? My jokes are all available.
Golf and soccer. That was the first joke.
They talked about it. No, about our show being an award-winning podcast. I liked that joke.
Right, because you had an award. I mean, not necessarily awarded for the podcast, but we
said like the award-winning announcer is Brendan and the award-winning host is Doug, which is true. I am an award-winning host. I just won an award in a different venue.
Right. All right. There we go. And now in the chat room, which I'm kind of monitoring, looks like Cha Cha is getting ready to type some smart-ass comment.
He's probably going to bed knowing Cha-Cha.
I'm not in the mood. That Chihuahua walking, whatever he is.
Where's Kevin? He'll probably sign on in another.
I don't know.
He's been around.
Which again, I guess we'll talk early. Okay. The issues I'm going to bring up is this show. You two participate, so you're not necessarily the audience for this debate.
Oh, wow.
But, we went months where I would have 6, 7, 8 people on. So the concern is, and I heard different things, and I'm sorry, to me, the time of day we do it, to me, isn't an excuse. I'm sorry. It just isn't. I don't care East Coast, West Coast. I know Jim gets up at 5 in the morning, whatever, but you know what? At 10 o'clock, most adults, even on the East Coast, are up at 10 o'clock. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't buy it. I mean, people have jobs, got to get up early, and maybe that's an issue for a few.
I mean, you were on at the same time 10 weeks ago when there was 8, 9 people.
Right.
So the time shouldn't be the difference.
But the excuse I get is the time. That's the number one excuse, is the time. The number 2 excuse is how long we go. I have said since the beginning, come on for 10 minutes, stay the whole 2 or 3 hours. It doesn't matter. You're not going to offend me if you have. I mean,
all right. Well, then, good night, everybody. I'll see you later.
That's fine.
See you later.
I will talk. Hey, not that anyone wants to hear me talk to myself, but my point is, I don't want people not to show up for this show because they have to go to bed, or that's fine too. So that's fine. I'm trying to express for the listeners out there what the things I've heard and get an idea. So obviously those are the two, those are the only 2 reasons people tell me. Now Chappie and Arnie just told me it's because they just do a show before me and they eat and they can't do another hour without eating. I guess.
I can see that. If you just did a show, you may not want to just turn around and do another one.
Okay. I'm not asking. The point is I do this and I told Doug before we start the show, I have a blast doing the show, and it doesn't matter if it's me alone, which I've only been by myself one time, but that was kind of planned. But other than that, there's a minimum. I think, Doug, me and you only did it one time. I think only once has there been two people. I think we've always had at least three or more.
Yeah, there was once when it was me. There was once when it was you and I. That was it.
Right. I was going to say, I think we had one show. Right.
But Kevin came on for a little bit.
Right. We had one show. Right. You know what? I do think you're right. We did it by ourselves almost the whole show. And then at the very end, Dan came on.
Yeah.
So
I think my guess is the summertime, personally.
Well,
I mean, my guess would be the summertime, especially for the West Coast people. I'm sure they're out. I mean, that's what time is it there? 7?
What I'm going to throw out there is, people let me know. I'm one in the chat room. I mean, our chat room's pretty open, and anyone knows me in the chat room. Personal comments, hate, I don't anything. I'll listen to it. I don't care. But or you can direct message me on Twitter at @afantasyfan, or you can email me at justafantasyfan@gmail.com if you have issues, questions, concerns. I've had a few people say they don't want to be on camera, but I've had people come here and not have a camera on. Don't have your camera on if you don't want people to see you. I mean, I'll work with you, but I do this show originally, or why I started it, was for the chat room people, because you can only express so much in there. And I thought it would be fun to have an hour or so where we could get on and people could bring up topics that either were talked to in the chat room during the day, or whatever. And then obviously bring topics and stuff like that. So I'm just throwing that out there to begin with to just,
I'll give you my I have two theories on this that we have.
Okay, theories. I love theories. Let's do it.
So the first one is This is predominantly a fantasy baseball network. All right.
Okay,
and I've heard that network, and there are peaks and valleys in the fantasy world, and the biggest peak for baseball is the month running up to the season starting, and then the season starting, and that's the time when we had all those people.
Okay.
Right?
I accept that.
And now we're the part of doldrums. There are people.
That,
there are people in roto leagues that are checked out right about
the
now.
argument against that would be the number of people in our chat room right now in the morning when Lenny's on. Now we got those people that as soon as they see Lenny's not on, they top out.
Second point.
But
Arnie does okay, actually. I know Double A tapped out this morning.
Dominic is one of the original. He was on like 9 months ago, the Miami Dolphins guy.
I don't know Dominic. So, hey, Dominic.
Hey, how's it going?
I don't know.
Let's have you back. We were just talking to now that Dominic's here, but we talked about how we had so many people early on when I did this show, and now we're down to just 2 or 3 people every week.
I've always heard that Dominic brings the chicks to the chat room.
Dominic brings the chick to the chat room.
I never believed it until now. I see him. Look what's going on down there.
Well, my wife might be joining. So why did Dominic join tonight?
I also, Doug. Here's the key, which is some people.
I do my part too.
And I do try to control the show a little bit, but at the same time, I've told everybody, if you have a topic, bring it. So to say you're not on the show because we don't talk enough baseball, or we don't talk enough football, or we didn't talk enough about the all-star select, meaning if you have a topic, this show is open to bring whatever you want.
That was what actually brought me to the show in the original part. Like something would happen on the weekend, and it's like, oh, I want to talk about that.
Right. I mean, that's my point. So, and I'm not saying this is a bitch session or anything like that. I'm really just putting it out there to let people know that, if there's a reason or a problem, like I said, there's a lot of people have shows on this network that don't come on. And to me, this is also a time where hosts of some shows can come on and I'll say publicize their show or talk about what they talked about. If they want to get some input on something they brought up to see if, what's going on, or vice versa. If you got a big topic coming on next week, come on for 10 or 15 minutes and say, hey, next show, I've got this coming up. What do you guys think? I mean, that's all. I just wanted to put it out there that the numbers have dwindled. And I agree. I think JR is right that a lot of it has to do with it's just summertime.
Part 2.
It is
my theory.
That's part 2.
Okay, part 2 of your theory. What's theory number 2?
Since we switched to Spreaker, I have access to like the ratings of everybody, because we're all kind of
I'm highly rated.
Right? And there is, everyone knows what's the most highly rated show on this network, right? That's Lenny's 9 a.m. show by a long way. I mean, nothing even close. It's like he'll have on a bad day 40 live people and 100 downloads, maybe 80 downloads, so like 100 people.
Yeah.
And almost everybody else's ratings are really like the next highest rated show historically is the one right after his because people stay on for a little bit longer. It's like
but even there you see a big drop off.
Oh, there's a big drop off to weird, but he's still sitting there.
Yeah.
They'll get you 20, 30 people. A while back, and I'm not saying Lenny has to work any harder than he is because he's a great guy. He makes this thing possible. We used to have the 7:00 show from Lenny, and that would gear up a night.
Well,
that people would stay on all night long.
Right.
Like it was nice tonight that Arnie and Phil did the hour before you because as long as there's something going on,
they've been doing it right. They've been doing that now for about a month.
But you really don't have we don't yet have we don't have a Tuesday block the way we have a Monday block. You know what I mean? And like those shows on Monday, people listen to one after the other. Part of it is because they like the guys well enough, but a big part of it's because they're just there and they didn't think to move.
But still, I listen to almost every show on the network. This is still the only show where I put it out there that you can come and voice your opinion, and or bring your own topic. So for the people out there that bitch and moan or complain that we don't talk about something, well, to me, my argument is, well, then you should be here,
Yeah, to bring something up. I'm surprised. Didn't JJ chime in a couple weeks ago? I guess I missed that. Or was
JJ was in the chat room. JJ's complaint about being here. He keeps telling me one night he's going to come on is that Tuesday night has dinner with his wife. This is dinner time for him out there.
Dinner every Tuesday night with his wife. It's a Wednesday.
Oh, I bet
Monday or
been married a whole
1 week.
He's got a whole 4 years under his belt. I've got 37, but
Tom Brady. He is a Tom Brady fan, so I mean, gotta stay.
Well, again, welcome, Dominic. Where have you been, and are you ready to talk football down the road eventually? I hope.
Oh yeah, I'll be ready to talk football once training camp starts and everything like that. I've just been busy with work and more work.
Work. Are you? But you do football or baseball too, right? I mean, you do quite a bit. You do in a couple of baseball leagues, aren't you? I thought we talked about it.
I have a couple fantasy baseball teams going, but mostly it's just been my full-time job and my part-time job.
Full-time and part-time. Mm-hmm. Man, that's ugly. Sorry to hear that you have two jobs. Hopefully, no one knows you here. I mean, and you don't even have to say which is which, but which do you prefer? The part-time or the full-time?
The part-time one.
Part-time. Yeah, I agree. Usually when you have, most people, when you ask that, it's always like, if I could figure out how to make the part-time my full-time, it'd be nicer, but
Oh, absolutely.
All right. And Mr. J.R. Slice, two things. I'm so excited.
Talk about my gift. No, nothing.
I did. That's where I'm going. I'm so excited. And I know I got all kinds of stuff in my little bag you sent me. Even though I lost the bet, I feel bad that I lost a bet and then I paid up and then you felt bad, so you paid back. I thought, first of all, that's not how bets work. Just letting anyone know. You just take what you won and rub it in the guy's face and go on. But I'm a huge maple syrup person. I mean, huge. I go to a place, there's a place down around here that does maple syrup, and they have maple syrup candy. It's one of my favorite things. Maple syrup candy is the bomb. There's something about real maple, and I'm not talking the Aunt Jemima stuff. I'm not talking, I'm talking real maple syrup. There is nothing tastes. It's just one of the best flavors there is. And I now have me a little bottle of Maine syrup, straight from the Slice, himself. So I'm already told and for Father's Day, I got an outdoor gas griddle. So that was my Father's Day. It's a gas griddle that's, I'm sitting here, I'm underneath making sizes like any of you can see a damn thing, but it's a couple feet wide. It's, hooks to a gas thing. Okay. You're looking at me like it's not like these are, it's not a new thing. But
like a George Foreman grill, but gas powered. The bottom part, like the griddle.
Hibachi. When you go into like a place where the Chinese guy. Yeah, it's just flat. You can really cook anything on it. But trust me, Saturday morning I make what's called we call it here a corn cake. I don't know if it's got a real name, but it's a pancake type thing, but it's made out of a cornbread type mixture. So it's in between a pancake and a cornbread type thing, and it's going to be
like cornbread.
Well, then you would love corn cakes that we make, and I'm going to make those on my griddle, and I'm going to have Maine syrup. Now you live.
Yeah, you can.
Do you use Maine syrup? I mean,
I do not. I'm not gonna lie. I like Vermont, the Vermont one,
syrup
and
is
it's
not
fake. It's fake. I'm sorry, but it's not even the real Vermont syrup. But I like it. And it has to be the light flavor.
See,
But you can thank my wife.
My kids will only do the shitty corn syrup that's brown maple flavored stuff. It's not, Aunt Jemima. It's not real syrup. I think technically it's syrup. It's just not maple syrup. Doug, what about you? Do you like regular maple syrup or do you like the brown stuff with corn syrup?
There's something weird about the things that you grow up eating. Like I like that weird roast beef that Arby's makes, and I actually kind of like the weird syrup.
Okay. I know a lot of people do. They sell a lot of fake syrup.
I probably eat more fake syrup than real syrup. I have real syrup here, but it's
now real syrup is a zillion dollars more expensive.
That's the reason.
It's wicked expensive.
Yeah. I mean, so I know JR, I mean, it's not a big bottle, but I know it's expensive. Dominic, what about you? Are you a syrup guy, real or fake?
More real syrup than not, but I try and avoid both, to be honest.
Avoid?
Ooh, healthy guy.
I try to be.
I believe that maple syrup is something that the caveman would have eaten or whatever. Partake. So I think
took a lot of work.
What is that new diet? There's that new diet where if a keto, right? And I know keto has something to do with sugar and all that, but I'm guessing some caveman went over and stuck his finger on that sticky stuff of a tree and went, I could do something with this.
It takes out like my favorite thing.
Right now, looking at Cave Woman and going, let's quit messing with that wheel thing. That wheel thing's nothing. This maple syrup. This is, I'm just saying. Maple syrup. Maple syrup's the bomb.
So you didn't try any of those beers? Like I come on tonight. Beth was like, you got to go on tonight. Maybe he's going to try these.
I thought about it, but I'm not a young man. I realize beer that has been in a shipping vessel for 3 or 4 days and shaken up, and it didn't get into the refrigerator until last night. I didn't want to ruin it by opening one today and it not, that's
going to be the same, dude. Come on now. It's going to be the same tomorrow.
No, it needs to be cold and it needs to not explode when I open it.
It's not going to explode. All right.
I'm just drinking my normal Heineken right at the moment.
Dominic, we thought we were talking about goddamn Kareem Hunt. You're talking about maple syrup.
Kareem Hunt. All right. Football. You don't want to talk football. All right. Here's
I wanted Chris to come on. I was hoping I could catch Chris on, that Chris guy. Anyways.
My Chris guy?
Yeah. Remember when he called me, whatever he called me there? Yeah. I'm sensitive.
I know you are sensitive, but not till after 3 or 4 beers.
That's true.
The first question is baseball. And that is.
Damn you, Meadows. Sorry.
me and JR are playing each other right now. So this is big. I kicked Cha-Cha's ass last week.
Oh, Jesus.
Actually, I didn't kick his. I watched all week. He was beating me the whole week, but we were just close enough. See, my offense struggled most of the week, and I just thought, well, if I stay close, I'll beat him because I had confidence in my offense, and that's exactly what happened. He was beating me like 7-3 almost the whole week, but just barely in all the offensive numbers. So, I kicked.
You should beat me on paper, to be honest with you. My team's really not that good.
I don't have to be honest with you. I do believe I will beat you, but that's neither here nor there. You're.
Right, what's your first question, Easy? Let's see what we got going on.
The best baseball player in baseball right now. What? Is it? I mean, has that changed from the beginning of this season? Do we have a new and you can go either way with this fantasy or real baseball. I kind of the topic was on another radio show today, not on our network. And I just happened to listen. Who holds the title right now as the best baseball player in MLB? And I'll let any of you start. Okay,
it's really obvious.
Is it Bellinger? Who is it? Who is it?
I still think it's Mike Trout.
Well, stats show that it's not. Stats right now would show he's about the 7th to 10th, depending if for fantasy, especially if you're going by roto versus points or whatever.
Yeah, but the stats on Mike Trout show that you're watching, you're watching Ted Williams play, you're watching Mickey Mantle play, you're watching.
Well, we're talking about right now. We're not talking about the last.
You're sitting there going, I think he's not that good because he's the 7th best player statistically.
Yeah, I know.
You know how crazy that sounds?
Well, okay.
No one's saying that. We're talking about
If you're drafting him number 1 for fantasy and he's number 7, you obviously could have picked 6 other people that are giving you better numbers. But my answer is, if I'm drafting today, I'm still taking Trout. Would anybody take anyone over Trout if they were drafting number 1 right now? Go ahead, JR.
I had the second pick in the league we were in last year, and I really wanted to pull the trigger on Yelich. I had a little faith in him in that Milwaukee lineup, and I didn't. And I've been sitting with Betts, kind of doing whatever Betts is doing. I think Betts right now. I'm sorry. I think Yelich right now is
okay.
probably,
I would agree.
in my opinion, the number 1.
I'm not sure back in March when we drafted though that was the right. I mean, I think you made the right move.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You got to make those choices. I don't care about this cut sheet of who they're telling you. I looked at last year's.
I think it's like no one has to tell me to pick Trout over Yelich. The reason I would have picked Trout over Yelich is because there's absolutely no risk of him not being in the top 10. There was a possibility that what we saw at Yelich at the end of last year was sort of a mirage. Now, it appears now, with hindsight, you could say, well, it isn't. But at that time, it was real. There was a lot of very real reasons to doubt the fact that he hit more home runs in like the second half of last year than he did his entire career up to that point. Is that something he's going to continue doing? Well, nobody in the history of baseball has ever done that before. But yeah, we believe Yelich is a guy that'll do it.
Right, Dominic?
But you got to take age in consideration. Yeah, there's no protection. There's no protection really in the lineup.
We're not talking about getting a little bit.
2 injuries. He's not going to steal as much.
10 times. There's a big difference.
Dominic, right now, are you taking Trout or Yelich if you had the number 1 draft pick?
I'd almost go Yelich.
You would take Yelich right now?
Yeah.
I think I agree with you. If the draft was today and we're drafting for the rest of the season, I think I would take Yelich.
100%.
But at the same time, it'd still be hard. I think I think I would.
It definitely would be
consistency. I mean, Trout is actually down in steals and a few things, and there's a chance. There's a chance though that he could come back. You know what I'm saying? To me, the thing with saying, okay, I'll take Trout because maybe I'm going to get more upside with Trout, and maybe Yelich has already done his upside. That's which I'm amazed that there aren't that many mid-season leagues where they draft this time of year, because those are decisions you have to think of. Yeah, he's the better player right now, but has his upside already been used up? Now, who would you draft before the season then, Dominic? Would it have been Trout, Yelich, Betts? I mean, who?
Taking my liking of the Red Sox out of the equation, I'd probably take Trout, but it'd be hard for me to pass up a Red Sox guy.
I had Trout, Betts, and Yelich was my top 3, and I was trying to figure out which ones to take. On every draft I was in, if I had those picks, which I only had them in 1, it was those 3 guys. And
my number 1 pick in one league, or not mine, I didn't have number 1, but I got Stanton. Now, I obviously could have picked a lot of people better than him because of injuries, but I'm just saying that's who I took in the middle. I think in the pick 6 or 7.
I had the number 3 pick in 3 out of 6 leagues, and like everyone, all the stuff was saying Jose Ramirez, and I didn't want the guy because I had the same doubts I had with Yelich. It really came out of nowhere. And so I drafted JD Martinez, which I've been happy enough with. Are there better players? Sure.
Right. Now in JR in our league, I had the 7th pick, and I took JD Martinez, and he's done okay. I mean,
he'll when it heats up, it's still chilly down here. I know it's.
He is hitting over 300 barely with 14 or 15 home runs. It's not like
he's got 16 home runs.
Yeah, he's been on fire.
Yeah. Now, my and again, in that league, my team, I mean, I've been kind of lucky. I mean, Story is the number 1 shortstop. I think I got him in the 4th. He's definitely been a good pick. And then Springer's been hurt, but man, before he got hurt, that was not a bad pick either, No,
that was a great pick. He did this either last year or 2 years before. He was on fire, I think, at the beginning of the season. But he'll be Springer.
He should be back. I'm hoping to get him back before I kick your ass this weekend. But I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to get him back this weekend.
And you should. I mean, I don't have a guy that can hit 40 home runs on my team. So, I mean, I looked at my team today, and I'm like, wow. And there's not much I can do. I've been on the waiver wire a bazillion times, and it's a tough league. So it is what it is. I will start making, and you'll probably go, wow, this guy's dumb. But in my opinion, it's a head-to-head. I will start that one spot. I will start trying to snag some people and that you're like, why is he doing this? I'm just going to try to.
Careful. I've noticed, because this is the first time that I've played in a league that only 5 pickups. I've done 7, but only 5. You got to pay attention. Because unfortunately, you need to leave 1. I've kind of learned quickly. You got to leave 1 or 2 for Sunday, just in case it's close. And I did. I ended up picking up somebody Sunday that helped me, got me now only 4 strikeouts. And actually, I was hoping for a win, but those 4 strikeouts, I ended up beating Chacha in that category, I think, by 3 strikeouts. So, I do think that's kind of important. When you only have 5 pickups, you can't just do a bunch of crazy moves at the beginning of the week, because you got to wait and see how the week plays out a little bit. But unfortunately, at the same time, you can't pass up on a guy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if it's a guy you want, you can't wait. Dominic, you play in any leagues where you have to, control pickups during a week?
No, it's just been a standard league.
Yeah. I mean, so this is kind of new to me. Like I said, I've done it where I've had 7, and with 7, very rarely do you use them all anyway. I mean, 7 moves in a week's a bunch, unless you're in the playoffs or something. 5 is kind of a bunch, but at the same time, it doesn't take much to use 2 or 3 at the beginning of the week, and then you pick up a couple pitches. Next thing you know, it's Sunday and you don't have any. It's like, damn. Doug, what about you? How do you manage a league like that where you have minimum pickups?
I mean, most leagues I play in, if I have any say over it, I want there to be restrictions on the pickups, and I prefer to be in a league where it's like I like 5. I actually like that's a good number.
Yeah, 5's pretty good.
And
I would agree. I'm saying I think I do like it. Meaning, it makes you have to think a little bit.
But what you do is you kind of have in your head, I need to make, like whatever it is, like this guy got injured, this guy, my catcher isn't performing. On Monday, I'm going to replace my injured guy and get a new catcher. Then you hold the 3 picks for a little bit in the week to see how your week goes, because you might need them.
Right.
At the beginning, you don't do everything right away. You go, this is what I need to do on Monday, and then you wait until the thing, till it comes out. The other thing you do is that if you only have 5 picks, if you come to Sunday and it says you've used 1 out of 5, you go, let's get ahead of the game and see what I need for next week.
Well, and again, that's also a strategy. You try to sneak one in for next week if you don't need the points, or you don't need, or you don't think there's anybody there that's going to help you.
Well, I mean, every team's got a bad pitcher who didn't pitch on Sunday, and almost every team has got a player that there's roughly equivalent on the your worst hitter is roughly equivalent to what's on the waiver wire.
Right.
I have 7 bad pitchers.
Right, Dominic.
Not much I can do.
No, what's more important is Dominic. I think you're a Dolphins fan, but that looks like a Jets jersey behind you. What the hell is that?
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's autograph Namath jersey.
Namath. Now I see it. Okay, so it is a Jets, but it's Namath, and then it looks like on the other side it's red. Is that Kansas City or 49ers? What's that on the other side of you?
I did bring my Cubs hat today.
Ronnie Lott.
Oh, 49ers. All right.
Yeah.
I can tell by the red that it was probably the Kansas City or 49ers. I don't, but all right. Well, all right. Looks nice. Because I think the last time you had a Dolphins in the background.
I don't see the Tannehill signed jersey. What the heck?
No, don't have a Tannehill autograph.
Tannehill autograph. Oh, poor guy. Poor guy.
Poor guy, Chad Henne.
I do have a Yastrzemski and Ted Williams.
Well, that's not a bad Red Sox combo there.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. So the next thing, because I think we kind of agree. I don't know. I still think if there was a draft today for the rest of the season, Trout's going to go at least in the top 2 or 3. I don't think he's going to fall to 7th or anything like that.
I don't know.
Where would you put Bellinger then in that group? I mean, okay,
that's harder because
let's say we're drafting at the beginning of the year, but we know what's going to happen already. Would you take Bellinger before, Yelich or Trout?
No, but I would take him in the first round. But those are the weird ones. I mean, Yelich did enough in his past history to merit some conversation of being a first round draft choice.
Yeah, but not number 1. I'm sorry. I know.
I'm saying, but Bellinger and the other guy, Josh Bell, did not.
Well, that's true.
It would take a great leap of faith. If somebody were to come up and pick, if Trout went first and they picked Bellinger second, that guy had better be a Dodger season ticket holder.
Yeah, I'm not sold. I mean, I guess I have to be sold on Bellinger. Maybe this is just me being an East Coast guy, not knowing 100% his stats. I don't know, like if he steals. I don't know anything like that. I don't know his average, to be honest with you. But the one thing I always had
for a while. That's how
good he was. That was early though. I did know that.
And he was on a huge home run,
Yeah.
thing. Now that
But
cooled off. Now, I think he hit a couple last week again. I mean, I know he cooled off a little bit.
But the one thing with Yelich that you knew that followed him from his previous team was the average was always there. The 20 to 21 homers was always there. So, you put him on a team that's an offensive juggernaut. I mean, it just seemed like counting stats are going to add up. I mean, to me, I don't know. Maybe I also hate the Dodgers. I hate the Dodgers. So, I mean,
the problem is Bellinger. To me, the argument against Bellinger is just still isn't proven. Unfortunately, 3 good months don't make a career or even a good, I mean, he still could end up,
what is Yelich? 26?
Huh?
I mean, Yelich is 26?
Yelich,
probably a year older.
this is his 3rd full season, right? Where
maybe his 4th.
Bellinger was a call-up last year, right? He didn't.
No. This is Bellinger's 3rd year.
3rd year. I think he was injured last year. He was up the previous year.
All right. You're right. I skipped it.
Bellinger is hitting 355 with 23 home runs, 8 steals. It's a solid year all across.
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah.
It's even like Story. I mean, Story's one of those where, I think I got him in the 3rd round. And I think nowadays he would probably go in the 1st. I mean, he's got home runs. He's stealing bases for me. I mean, right now, Story's, I think, one of my best players. And I think I got him in the 3rd. And now, I think is by far the number 1 shortstop. I mean, number 2.
Lindor must be catching up a little bit. He missed
Number 2 right now is probably Bogarts. Strangely enough, I mean,
really?
just in straight numbers. But I would put guys like Lindor or Javi Baez. Bregman's way up there.
No, Story's good, but I was so afraid. I had him that first breakout year, and I was kind of a little wondering about the first year. So
the first year he did good, but then he really fell off last year.
Well, he got injured
at the beginning of last year. He fell off. I mean,
so then I didn't dare to draft him this year. I kind of like, maybe they're doing something they shouldn't be doing to get injured all of a sudden. But yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah, I've been, like I said, I've been happy with him, and I was hesitant. To me, when he dropped to 4, his upside was too good. I thought it.
100%.
He was the 4th pick overall. That's pretty high.
Not
4th round. 4th
round. I think.
4th round. Yeah,
I got him at the beginning of the 4th round. So that worked out for me. Then this will roll into the next kind of question I have for all of you, and maybe you can even give something that you've done, but. In fantasy this time of year, what is a bigger mistake? When you drop the wrong person or not picking up the right person? Which is a worse mistake to deal with? Personally, I'm not sure there's a right or wrong. It's really, and I'll just start. I mean, I'm a person, I feel worse if I drop the wrong guy more than I feel bad if I didn't get a guy that did good. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my opinion. I struggle. We had that decision, or we talked just before we went on the air. I don't drop a lot of people or make some of those moves. If I think the guy still has potential, I will hang on to a guy. And I have before, maybe a week or 2 longer than I should have. But I worry more about dropping a guy than I worry about picking up a guy. Go ahead, Doug.
If you're just talking about potential for regrets, then 100%, it's the guy that you cut too early. Anybody you pick up that's wrong, you can just cut him again and you don't even regret it. Right?
Well, but I guess what I'm saying is you didn't pick him up and you let someone else do, and then that guy, he goes off on another team. That's what I'm kind of saying. You're like, okay, I could have dropped him for him, but I didn't. I
guess my mind doesn't work that way. It's like I don't think of the people that are in the waiver wire that I have any real call to say I own those guys. I do. I mean, I have regrets this year in my big league. A couple of decent pitchers, and it's a league where pitchers are really important. So when I say the names, they got cut, and if I had spent like $1 more, I could have got Kyle Gibson. If I had spent $2 more, I could have got Kyle Hendricks. They're all Kyles,
right?
But they're very good in this league, and I regret that a little bit because it's like, it's just a couple of bucks. I missed it, but you don't know in Fab. You're guessing what the price will be.
Well, but I guess still my argument isn't that you got the guy or you didn't get the guy. It's that you decided not even to go after him because you're going to hang on to a guy for 1 more week. That's my thing. Dominic, what about you? Do you have issues one way or the other as far as how you handle drops or pickups emotionally?
I come to terms with either one. I think it's just trusting my gut at the time, and sometimes it's just wrong. I mean, I either hang on to a guy for too long or pick him up after he has a great game and think it's going to be the beginning of a trend. So,
right. Now, that being said, I do handle it okay, because I am one of these. I just move forward. I don't look back too much. I'm just curious if you hear people in fantasy a lot say the word mistake, and technically, I don't think either is a mistake. It's just what you decided or your judgment one way or the other. But I just wondered if it's more of a problem that we hang on to people too long, or more of a problem, that we don't pick up people that we should have. So,
and I'm probably similar to Dominic, because I always text you, play your players. It's still a game. Now, I know that there's some decent money on the line, but you know me, it's always dropping players. I'm not afraid. I mean, I try to get that ball, I try to catch that guy, and then I keep that guy that actually eventually goes off. But I had Hunter Pence, you made fun of me, and I dropped him like a fool. I should have probably kept him for another few weeks, and he would help me.
He's on the injury reserve.
Now he is, but this is about 3 weeks.
Right, you could have had him for a couple weeks where he went off. I agree.
But at the game, I play it for fun. I will seriously still add a pitcher.
I was trying to remember if I ever regretted not picking somebody up, and then you mentioned Hunter Pence. I did regret not picking up Hunter Pence. I really thought about it, and it didn't do it.
Now, Dominic, I know JR thinks football's easy. I think that stuff bothers me more in football than baseball, because I think football is such a condensed season that those things seem to, they don't get out of your mind quick enough, meaning, 2 weeks later, you've seen the results, of your bad decision 2 weeks in a row. It's hard to get it out of your mind, where in baseball, there's always 5 more games that week. You know what I'm saying? So it goes quicker. What's your opinion on football? Does it bother you more or less, or the same thing? You just move forward?
I mean, it definitely bothers me more in football because, like you said, it's much more of a condensed season. So one mistake, either picking up a guy too late or dropping him too early, does cost you wins. So
right.
I think it does bother me.
And I know Jared makes fun. Unfortunately, football is so short. 2 wins might be the difference of you getting into the playoffs or not,
Mm-hmm.
Well, JR makes fun of you because of this question. I mean, how many add and drops do you need to do in football? If you draft correctly, that's why you should go way more, in my opinion, you go way more aggressively for a guy in football with Fab than you do in baseball.
But the difference,
because it is a short season.
You'll have this argument all the time, because I know you're not we fight. But my point is, I feel in my brief 6 years of playing football and baseball, both, though, I see more big things that come off the waivers in football that make a difference than I ever have in baseball.
Well, that's what I just said.
Well, that's my point. That's what makes it more important that you have to make those pickups. You're saying draft well, and who cares about pickups in football? My point is, in football, those first 3 or 4 weeks, you can pick up a guy that wins you the Super Bowl.
But it's usually only 1 or 5 guys. I mean, we're not talking about in baseball. There are a lot of other contributor factors that you add up
in both. You just don't like to admit it. I mean,
what do you mean? I've been playing fantasy football forever. There's that Lindsey was the one guy last year, the biggest guy last year. If you had him, he didn't play at the end of the season, but he got you there. Then you make that other move at the end of the season. That's 2 moves. Well, what do you mean?
Well, but I'm still saying in football, it's hard to explain. I guess, the Aaron Judge, I mean, I've seen more times in football where people get the guy off of the waiver wire that ends up being a top 2 or 3 at that position.
100%.
In baseball, I haven't noticed that often, meaning the number 1 guy in home runs almost never came off the waiver wire. The number 1 guy in stolen bases, maybe, but not in home runs or RBIs. Those guys didn't come off of waivers.
But you're agreeing with me, but arguing at the same time, because you're talking about a condensed season. Right. I love that. You know what I'm saying? Of course, the guy you pick up that adds the 40 more freaking runs or the 30 more, whatever it is, RBIs, is going to be through a season. You want the one guy that's why there's 1 or 3 or 4. There's not a lot of people that win you that season. And that's why you always hear at the end of the season, let's see, week 10 or week 11, you got to really pay attention to that one cat that's going to freaking get that starting running back job for those 2 weeks during that first whatever seasons of your fantasy playoffs.
Well, I mean,
you get this one guy who hasn't played all year long that you're going to get off the waiver wire because they're either resting or they're sitting the guy or he's injured.
Last year, Connor, in most leagues, if you drafted at a particular time, Connor was like the number one waiver wire pickup the first week, because that's when everyone realized, hell, Bell isn't playing. And he was the top 2 running back for the year. My point is, in baseball, that's not going to happen. You're never going to get, 1 week into the season, you're not going to go, Judge got hurt, so I'm going to pick up this guy who's now going to be the, outfielder for the Yankees, and I'm going to win. No, Judge is going to come back. Baseball's so long that I think you can have an arm cut off in April, and you're back in baseball by August. So
easy. What 10-team league was Connor not drafted in that you were in, please? James Conner should have been drafted in almost every league if you're in a 12 or 14-team league.
No, I was in a 12-man league where we drafted. We drafted early, and then we locked the waivers. You can't pick anybody up then until after week 1. So no, Bell got drafted because we week 4 of the preseason, actually all the way up to the first week, people still thought Bell was going to be playing, but
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a fact. People around here in Ohio still thought Bell was going to be the starting running back on like the Wednesday before the season opened. They did. I'm sorry. I mean, they did.
Depending on the size of your rosters, if I drafted Bell, Connor would have been on my team in probably the 9th or 10th, 11th round. There's no way I would have gone into that season last year.
If you drafted 4 weeks before the season,
Doesn't matter. With all that stuff going, it
doesn't matter because you know the results now. I'm saying 4 weeks before the season, Bell had done this before. Other running backs had done this before. Roster spots, I'm sorry. I'm telling
you, I'm not making this up. This is the way I went into game plan last year, 100%.
Okay.
They should do that every year. The biggest running back in the league, you should have right on your radar. I
draft Bell, and I wouldn't have. So I took Bell off of my thing right away. Now, hey, I'd have drafted him if he fell to round, 2 or 3, maybe. But he was drafted in both of my home leagues where we do live drafts. He was picked number 1. Bell was picked number 1. You don't pick someone number 1 if you don't think he's starting the season. So because of that, the people who were going to pick up Connor also didn't pay attention or think he was going to play. I'm just saying it happened in both of my home leagues.
So you took Bell off your list.
Number 1 in both of my home leagues.
Did you put Connor on as a snipe?
I did not.
You should have.
Well, okay. I know that now, and I'm saying
no, you should have known that. That's why I'm telling you it's easy. I knew that last year.
No, I mean, I'd have to go back and tell you who I drafted, in the 15th, 16th, and 17th round. That's my point. Right now, we're just debating one player. You can't do that in fantasy. You have to go back and say, well, here's who I drafted instead of Connor because I didn't think Connor was going to play. I thought Bell was. And Pittsburgh proved that one running back's all they're ever going to play. Connor means nothing if Bell. Exactly. But my point is 4 weeks before the season, we didn't. No one thought 4 weeks before the season Bell wasn't going to play.
Easy. This year, when you go into your football leagues, you need to have the top 5 or 6 running backs in the league. Ezekiel Elliott, you need to know who their backup is.
I don't draft.
You need to have it on that list, and you need to get them in the later rounds. I'm telling you right now.
I'm not drafting a handcuff. I'm not.
What?
I don't draft handcuffs.
Well, you know my email. I will join any of these leagues.
Okay, that's fine.
Why would you not draft a handcuff?
I am not a handcuff person. I want to draft people. I want to draft a starter. I want my pick 16 running back to be somebody that could end up playing with Zeke Elliott on my team. I mean, I drafted Zeke Elliott. I don't want Zeke's backup. I want someone that I say I've got Zeke starting and now I have Connor starting. So I get it now. If I'd have known Connor, but I just don't. I would rather look at somebody, and I'm trying to think. Unfortunately, it's slipping me. The running back, Texans, Tennessee.
Probably the Ravens, because it was the running back that everyone was juicing up that was horrible in the first place.
Derrick Henry. See, Derrick Henry is somebody I would have drafted late last year or later.
He was going in the 6th round.
Okay, but my point is, I'd rather have him later than some handcuff.
Connor.
Yeah.
Well, this is the difference because you have different people. Let's say Dominic, he goes and he drafts for the best player at that pick at that time. I am one of those, I don't know what you want to call it, but I fill my team. I fill my team with the best player. And then in those later rounds is when I either start sniping or backups or handcuffs or stuff like that. That's the way I do it. I'm not going to take.
Dominic is here. We can just ask him.
No, I was just using. Sorry, he was the first person I saw. Go ahead.
No worries.
Go ahead, Dominic. What's your opinion on the handcuffs and what you want to do at the later rounds of a draft?
I think I'm actually kind of in agreement with JR over there. I mean, I'm gonna pick. I look to fill my team with the guys that I want starting top, like week in, week out, and then later rounds I'm looking to see if there's a chance that Zeke might get injured for extended period of time.
Or
I'll look
suspended.
to.
But is
play
that
the
you
averages
have?
on that.
See, I am, and again, maybe I don't think I'm doing it wrong because I'm competitive. I am more likely to take someone else's handcuff than my own. Back to the same thing. I don't want my two guy, and I get it. That would be considered a strike, not a handcuff. I don't handcuff my
Just as
own.
an example.
But right now, now we say that I did last year draft Zeke in one of my drafts, and then I came back. Now I'm trying to think at the time, which is my problem with handcuffs. At the beginning of the season, Zeke's handcuff was the other random guy from Ohio State, Jones. I'm going to say Jones, or Smith. And I did, as my very last pick, I picked him up because he actually is a pretty decent ball player, and he was Zeke's backup even at Ohio State. But I ended up cutting him like 2 weeks later, and he never did anything anyway. But unfortunately, a lot of times with handcuffs, the guy we think isn't the handcuff anyway. So
100%, but you're taking the chance. But at the same time, these people are not these people. Sorry, the fantasy experts. They're trying to tell you. I mean, in football, unless you get injured, it's your job. If you win the job, that's your job. So I mean, if you take freaking Julio Jones as your number one, Michael Thomas or whatever, they're gonna be there. So unless they get injured, you don't really, for 5 weeks, you don't have to worry about that. So you have to, in my opinion, you take the starters and then you try to get guys that may get a job, and then you don't have to waste your money on the waiver wire.
Okay, but
I missed out on the guy from Denver. I really did. I would have won the league.
But I listen to a lot of fantasy football shows compared to baseball. I listen to Lenny all day, and I mix in a few, baseball podcasts here and there. But when football season starts, I listen to a lot. I listen to enough to know the experts are split on handcuffs. So don't act like every expert thinks handcuffs. You can listen to, one expert, and he will say, handcuff. And the next guy will go, that handcuffs are the worst thing you can do. So, I mean, it's not like my opinion is, all the experts say.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But
because again, most of the time we don't really know who the handcuff anyway. Now, granted, I think we had an idea that Connor was the handcuff of Bell. So that is at least one. And I'm telling you, in both of my leagues, the guy who drafted Bell didn't even get Connor, so, the whole thing was, like I said, and then Connor wasn't available till week 1, but because we didn't let waiver wire go through the spring training, preseason or whatever they call that. But, back to did everyone answer? So I'm just saying, I worry more about dropping a guy in football or baseball more than I worry about not picking up a guy. That being said, fab dollars. I know, because you're broke. You have none.
I don't care. I don't care.
I know, but that's my point. Back to two different strategies. I like having fab money later on so that if I get to the playoffs, I have a little bit of this is where I think both. I do agree in football, the last couple of weeks, you can pick up weird players that end up doing stuff just because of playing time and the way the season ends. But in baseball, those last minute call ups and some people getting rested. I think in baseball, having fab money at the end, as long as you're going to make the playoffs, I don't know. I think there's an advantage there. I mean, I think you'll say I'm wrong, but I like the idea that if me and you go into the playoffs and you have $62 and I've got $400, I obviously can outbid you on any pitcher that I need that week to go against you. I could pick up, if your catcher get hurt, I can pick up the best catcher and just sit him on my bench. I mean, I know that you can't outbid me. I think that's a little bit of leverage that I like taking to the playoffs. Doug, this seems like somewhere that you may, I've kind of wanted your opinion because you're kind of a numbers guy. What is your feeling about fab and kind of managing it versus just, spending all 90% of it on one player at the beginning of the season.
I was listening to your show with Chris, and you were doing a thing about what's important in a league, and I like Fab, but most Fabs are kind of really like you can always pick up players and whatever. It's just like there is no real, it doesn't really stop anything,
Well, no, it does. I mean, if I know JR only has $32 and he needs a catcher for 3 days at the end of our playoff thing, I'm going to go and bid $33 on the best catcher available.
In the leagues that I play that have Fab outside of the one that I joined this year, we play Classic Fab, which means there are no $0 bids. And so when I think of Fab entirely different than other people do because you can actually bid yourself out of the year.
Oh, that's true, right? You would need to manage it. Like, you want to make sure you have some money going in.
That's 100%, Doug. Because this one doesn't. I knew the rules. I wouldn't have done all the bidding that I did. The aggressiveness.
Because I'll talk about how like I bid $4 for this guy. It's like, how'd you get it for $4? It's like, well, there's only X number of dollars going around. No one wants to go that crazy over Adrian Sampson. You know what I mean? You're right, because you only have $100. $4 is a pretty big bid. And these other things is like people just. I actually think the more I play in a Fab with no $0 limit, I think that it's probably the stupidest way to play the game. I'd much rather play in just the rotating draft because really what happens is all Fab with no limit does is it gives the teams that are the best teams the opportunity to keep getting the best players. That's
me and Chris had an argument in football, because I still think in the perfect league that if you have rotating where your waiver wire actually sets every week, then the weak teams can stay competitive and are going to stay more involved.
Because the better teams are going to be not as active on the waiver wire because they won't have to be because they have two good running backs and maybe they have a backup quarterback they don't have to go to the wire for. So when it comes time that something really happens, they have all the money and then so the second place team or the first place team gets the star player that comes out of nowhere, or like in baseball, he gets the guy that's traded interleague, because he has more money. It's like, no, I'd rather the game be set up so that the teams that are near the bottom get the advantage and the teams near the top don't.
Dominic, what's your opinion on Fab versus waiver wire? And I don't care. I don't care if it's football, baseball, or if you think it should be different on one or the other. Just what's your opinion?
I honestly haven't had too much experience with Fab. That's why I was kind of silent on the whole thing.
Okay. Now in football, waiver is more popular, I feel, than Fab. Fab is more popular, I think, in baseball, but football's getting there. But and again, the problem is the argument you get from the good players, which unfortunately or fortunately, a lot of us in these chat rooms are above average players. And we like the idea of, I don't care how good my team is. I drafted well. I still should have a chance to get Connor week 1 if I want him versus no, unfortunately, the team that got his head beat in week 1, can have him, because then that makes it waivers are done on purpose in real sports so that the weaker teams can get better and their fan base doesn't hang themselves.
Well, this is my quick answer, as quick as I can be, but what Doug said is 100% true for the most part. Like, I knew this league was you could do a 0 Fab. So I was aggressive early because, like I just told you, in baseball, I was trying to get that opportunity to get that one guy. So now that I'm out of Fab or almost out of Fab, I've saved a little bit. But I'm hoping, and there are a lot of competitive people in this league, but like Cha-Cha always says, at the end of the year, there will still only be a few people playing. So yes, so if you outbid me on maybe that stream pitcher that you think is going to be great, I may just go the opposite direction and go, well, maybe this guy has a better chance because it's baseball. It's not football. And if I lose that chance, but I could get him for $0 because you may be thinking, I got to get this guy because some clown's telling me he's facing the Blue Jays or he's facing Baltimore, and the guy, they jack off freaking 5 home runs on him. And I may go, well, this guy's facing Milwaukee, but I'm hoping that my knowledge in if I make the playoffs, because I've sunk like
I know, but
is better than the players I'm playing.
The argument against that, because most experts say the same thing. My argument against spending all my Fab on that early guy is that early guy may not be the guy we think he is. He may not, people say, I want to blow all my Fab because I get him all year. Well, there's no guarantee you get him all year. I'd rather take a chance on 10 guys and 2 of those guys sticking on my team than one guy. That's just my opinion. Like Lance Lynn.
Maybe.
I picked up Lance Lynn getting me 1 start. He did great. Then I saw, well, hey, he's facing Seattle, or no, I forget now maybe it was Seattle.
He actually played Houston very well.
And then I thought, well, actually now he's actually been 5 starts in a row. He's had over 7 strikeouts. And so I picked him up for 1 game and I've now kept him for like 5 starts.
And no expert told you to pick up Lance Lynn. So that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. It's exactly what I'm saying.
Also,
You've really,
I think I paid $2 for him because no one else, but
it's awesome.
But that's my point. I'd rather do a lot of those than the one guy. Who was the one guy so far this year? Junior,
Mercado. Yeah. Oscar was a guy I didn't go for in our league, but I went for my other big league, and I'm so regretting. And I think I went for, yeah, you're right. There was one guy from Washington when the shortstop Trey Turner went down that I blew $500 on. Can't remember his name.
Right.
And he sucked and hasn't even come close to being called up.
Well, I'm trying to think. Cha-Cha spent like $500 or $600 on somebody
and Juhar.
Right.
He spent like 400 almost, because I was like, I didn't put a bid in because I was in Cha-Cha's league last year. I was like, nope. I was like, there's no way I'm getting in Juhar.
Yeah.
Now I spent a lot on Robles. Robles, yeah, Victor.
Right.
And I'm still holding on him. Cha-Cha's tried to trade me 3 times for him. That's a guy I will hold on. I spent that much. I'm going to keep him. He's still actually slowly doing okay. Like a lot of people go, wow, the guy sucks, but he's still up 20. He's close to a 20 homers, 20. His average ain't going to be great. But
now, Dominic, in football, you say you've never done fab, so obviously you've just done waivers. Are you always in waivers that hold all year long? Or are you in waivers that reset every week? And or do you have an opinion one way or the other on what you prefer?
What I've done is that they've just been whatever free agents are available. So probably the ones that hold every week, I'd say.
Okay. So because what I guess what I'm saying is you can be in leagues where the waiver wire is set immediately after the draft. So whoever drafted 12 in a 12-man league, if you drafted 12, you have the number 1 waiver wire. If you had the number 1 pick, you now have the number 12 waiver wire. And then it can stay that way all season until, if the number 1 guy picks somebody up, then he moves to 12 and then everyone else bumps up 1 and so forth. Where in other leagues, the waivers resets every Tuesday and the worst record has the number 1 option to get the best player. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
The difference is if you lose 3 in a row, you could get the 3 best waiver wire guys, and if you've won 3 in a row, you're not probably getting a good waiver wire person. So,
or is it first come, first serve, Dominic?
Weekly waiver set versus seasonal weekly waiver or versus seasonal waiver. Meaning if you're the number 1 waiver wire week 1, for instance, last year I was the number 12th pick in my draft. So I got the number 1 waiver wire. Yeah. I did not use it all year. I didn't use my waiver pick at all year. And there's still free agency, so I could pick up players. I just never picked up anyone off of waivers. And then when the playoffs came, I used my waiver spot then as a bench spot, to be real honest, knowing I knew I had the number 1 waiver wire, so I could drop a guy, picked up somebody else, knowing that on Tuesday I could pick him back up because I knew I had the number 1 pick. So, and I had that number 1 pick all year long, and I just had the benefit I got out of it was the first week of the playoffs. I was able to pick up somebody I really wanted, knowing I could get it. And actually it was a quarterback. I put Aaron Rodgers because of the matchups. I put Aaron Rodgers on waivers. Oh, and trust me, the whole league went, he just dropped Aaron Rodgers. Now, he didn't have a great season last year, but it still wasn't a quarterback you would have dropped. But I dropped Aaron Rodgers because I had another quarterback that had a much better matchup, and I picked up another player. But then I picked Aaron Rodgers up the next week. You know what I'm saying? So because I kept that waiver spot all year, and that's finally when I got to benefit from it. So I don't know. I unfortunately I think it's anything else. Whatever you play in, just know the rules and learn the strategy for it and move on. But it's just and that's what's fun about fantasy. There's so many different ways to play, and some people would argue that one's wrong and one's right. I just think one's different. That's all. It's just a matter of
why we play.
Right.
And everybody's strategy is different. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
But I know people that would say, I'll never play in a league like that again, or I'll never do that. Well, why? Because you didn't understand the rule or you didn't know how to take advantage of the rule. My point is I would never say that. I would just think I'm never going to let them do that to me again. I'm going to learn the rules so I can take it. I mean, that to me is the difference, learn, don't say you got screwed or taken advantage of or ripped off. You just, if you didn't realize the rule, then that's on you to a point, or at least how to benefit from it. So
still always a chance, though. I mean, it really is. Like these pickups, it's always
you can play Monopoly, and the first time around the board, you don't buy Park Place, and later in the game, you're like, motherfucker, I should have bought Park Place early on.
Who doesn't buy Park Place the first time around the board? Come on, I got the most money.
There's been times where I'm like, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. Or
if you're playing Monopoly correctly, if you don't buy Park Place and it goes up for auction, anybody can buy it.
Get out of here!
Get out of here! Oh my God! I'm buy a Park Place the first time I go around the board.
Those are the rules to Monopoly. If you don't buy the property, it goes up to auction. You buy it
on any property or just Park Place.
Yeah, but you're not going to But they have to sell. First of all, they have to be losing the game for it to go up to auction.
I need to
read the rules. Read the rules. If you land on Illinois Avenue and it says 280, and you say you don't want it, then all of a sudden people bid on it, and somebody can get it for cheaper. Dominic. You're the sensible one here.
Oh, maybe.
Are you a Monopoly guy? Monopoly might have more house rules than fantasy sports do.
Hey,
but
so wait, hold on. So
Doug,
you're telling me
Beth is out there telling me I'm right.
Hold on, Doug. So you're telling me if I pass on anyone the first time I go around, it's up for auction?
Anytime that you land on a property at any time in the game and you choose not to buy it at the price, then it goes up for auction. And you could theoretically can get it for cheaper if you have the highest auction price.
I have never ever
a true rule.
Dominic is
go to the chat room right now. There's a person named Elizabeth Ross who's telling you that I'm right about this.
That's my wife.
You
don't know shit.
Your wife knows how to play the game.
I have played a lot of Monopoly. I have never been involved in an auction.
No.
Yeah, I have. There's never been an auction in Monopoly that I'm.
It's true. Most people play the game wrong.
Okay,
totally bringing up auctions after this.
But
the auctions are a blast. You know how much fun auctions are at baseball?
Now,
I hate them.
Anyone can bid then, so even the guy who passed it up can bid on it.
Yeah, you can theoretically go
the second bid.
If you don't have enough money to buy Park Place because you only have $320.
I guess that would
What's about the first time though? You have enough money the first time.
Well, I mean, the first you could make the choice to I'm going to try to get it at auction and see what goes off. But no, it's more often than not the auction occurs. Basically, the strategy of Monopoly: you land on a property, you can afford it, you buy it, no matter what.
I think 1,000 years of freaking Monopoly. I don't know if anybody's ever played this way because I've been playing a while. He's been playing a while. He's 80.
Go get your rule book. It's in there. That's what happened.
Nah, it's too far away.
Yeah.
No, I saw Laureano hit a freaking 3-run bomb.
A lot of people play Monopoly. A lot of people play Monopoly weird ways, like putting $500 on the parking.
Yeah,
there are a lot of weird rules.
I've played places where they do that. Have you ever played where you just deal out the properties and you just, I think it's called a quick game or something?
I've never wanted to play Monopoly enough to just go, let's get a quick one in. It's a terrible game.
No, it's not. How do you? Okay. F, Mary, kill. Monopoly, Clue, Trouble.
Ooh.
Doug. Monopoly, Clue, Trouble. F, Mary, kill.
Well, I would F Monopoly. Clue's the best of those three games by a long way.
So you're marrying Clue. You're effing Monopoly, and you're killing Trouble.
It says here that Jim hates games that make him think.
That's a direct quote from the chat room. I love that.
Beth. I don't know who said that. It might not have been Beth.
Now,
I don't want to tell her out.
Dominic, are you a board game player at all, Dominic?
Not so much.
I don't know. There's something fun about alcohol and board games. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Sit around Ohio
drinking.
Well, are we done with the F, Mary, kill? I mean, Dominic didn't get to say. I didn't get to say. I was excited.
I haven't got to you. Do you? So Beth already said you hate. You suck at board games. That's what Beth said.
Oh, I don't know about that.
What's your F, Mary, kill? Trouble, Clue, Monopoly.
First of all, I don't know how Trouble even got in this bunch. It doesn't make any sense.
Trouble might be the. A good game of Trouble is.
Isn't that the push thing?
It's got the Pop-O-Matic.
Yeah.
The dice in the middle. You have to decide.
I'm
have to decide which one you're going to move. It's a strategy game by far.
I'm actually in the same boat as Doug, which is crazy, but I actually love Clue. So now we're down to the what's this game?
Marry, Kill.
So I married Clue.
Mary would obviously usually be the one you're going to love the longest.
Okay.
If I only can do one of them one time, that's what I would do.
I guess, I'm actually exactly the same as Doug.
Dominic.
Sorry, dude.
Dominic, you're not a board guy, but I guess I got to ask you the question. Marry, Kill, Clue, Trouble, or Monopoly?
Gosh, I do like Clue.
I'm killing Clue. I'm sorry. Clue is the bottom of my list.
If you get to, like, I have a 7-year-old nephew, and I get to like experience like the first time playing Clue with him, and that game is actually really like
Mr. Mustard in the library with the candle.
That's the best part. You ask a question, you're like, so what happened?
Let Dominic finish. Dominic likes Clue. So does that mean you're going to marry Clue? That's your long-term commitment?
If I had to pick one of those three, probably.
All right.
Sucker.
If you have to never play one of them again, which one would that
Trouble.
Trouble? I don't know. There's something just fun about Trouble because any age group person, and to me, Trouble actually might be the best if you're all drinking a little, because Trouble, it's so easy, but there's some strategy. So you've been drinking, you think you can handle it, and people still can't. It's hard. It's amazing how many people can't count to 6 when they've had like 8 beers. I'm just saying.
Well, I've had about 12. I can count 6 pretty easily.
Now, we did have fun. Doug, we had fun last week playing Marry, Kill.
Yeah, it was a little overboard, a little long, but yeah, it was a blast. It was fun.
It was just
me, you, and Cha-Cha.
I don't know if you guys...
Beth's in the chat room, and I wanted to mention this before she disappears because of our love of musicals. I went to see this weekend the touring company of the best musical about Newfoundland you'll ever see. Come From Away.
I'm going to miss that one.
Me too.
It's about what happened in Newfoundland on the week of 9/11, which is very interesting. Because like 38 planes landed.
Ireland?
Me and Mrs. Easy did watch.
Sorry, Doug.
We watched The Stars Born. Is that considered a musical or just a movie about music?
I think that's a movie musical, but yeah, I'd consider that.
Yeah, but
Lady Gaga's amazing.
They really don't sing. I just don't want someone to sing me the plot. That's where I tap out. Don't sing me how I wish an Uber would come today from Hawaii. You know, I don't want to. I just wish the Uber would come right now. You know, I don't mind if singing is a part of the plot or the movie, but I just don't need someone singing me the plot. You know, just act it out or
the
sing.
Best musical ever is Across the Universe.
Right. Trouble has a Pop-O-Matic bubble. Beth is right. Beth is definitely the game player out there in the chat room. So I'm just saying. I mean, we had a good time.
Can I throw out a question for everybody? Just something that came up this week.
No topics from anybody. We had that discussion.
I think it's anybody can ask question.
You are allowed to bring your own topic.
This isn't the easy one here. This weekend, Darvish went back to Los Angeles and he got booed. The question is, when was the last time you booed anybody?
Never. Yeah, I don't do that. Nope.
No.
Not even as a kid.
Dominic is thinking though. Go ahead, Dominic.
I know full well when the last time I booed.
I thought this would be more interesting stories to this because my story is like, go tell us, Dominic.
I was at a Orange Bowl game between Florida State and Notre Dame, and as soon as Notre Dame started taking the field, I remember booing them.
Oh,
now that's a team boo. I'm not going to say I don't usually do that either. I
haven't done that.
When did you boo at anything? That's the question.
Yeah,
I know we've all done.
Did you boo Brady Quinn? What was that his name? Brady
Quinn
this
was the Notre Dame quarterback.
My bad.
He was booing Joe Montana. No,
not that far
after Montana.
Although my dad has an interesting story about a Montana-led Notre Dame team.
I believe that. Notre Dame, he was a good quarterback for them. I mean, and Brady was one of the best Big Ten quarterbacks of all time. But
Tom Brady.
So I guess we just don't.
Dominic, who is I know you're a Miami guy football wise. You're if I recall, you're a Red Sox baseball guy. Well, what are you college wise?
Florida State.
Never mind.
Ooh, Chris Winky.
Yeah,
Florida State is the alma mater of my first wife, and
wait a minute.
I would take special pleasure when they lose.
Ooh.
I actually boo them. when I was at this, I'm like, I said, I think it was like 3 years ago. I was like drunk at like what's that place called? Where they do
Chicago.
where they do that, where they do the live show with the jousting horses, medieval times, and like you're in the orange section, and then of course you boo the guy in the yellow section for no reason whatsoever, kind of thing.
Now, is that part of the? I'm trying to think. I don't think I've
That's
even
part of the game of the game of the night.
I mean,
you boo the villain. If you're a wrestling fan,
I do think I'm the oldest here, but the. I'm pretty sure. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, is that on any of your guys' radar?
Is there a booing in that?
Well,
it's on my wife. So were you trying to get her work?
Yeah,
I met my first wife after Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Right. I'm a Rocky Horror Picture Show guy back in the 70s, where we would go to the theater every Saturday night at midnight.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
We would take back the stuff. There is a place where you boo the turtle guy. I'm trying to think what his name is.
Criminologist.
There is
a boo there. You're right.
Part in the movie where you participate and everyone boos. So I
forgot about that.
Yep. So I'm all the way back to Rocky Horror Picture Show, where it actually, and what's funny here in Dayton, the Rocky Horror Picture Show was shown at again, maybe I'm showing my age here. We used to have these theaters called, porno movie theaters. It was the places that showed pornography before there was VHS tapes. So this was a Rocky Horror Picture Show came on at midnight after the last porn movie was shown. All the perverts would leave, and then they'd let us Rocky Horror Picture Show people go in, and
that's an incredible story. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't even know. That's crazy. Was
you didn't
Susan
know,
Sarandon in this Rocky? Isn't she in that?
I mean, you're not old enough. I mean, again, I'm at the age. Porn movie. I'm trying to think. They were called something. X-rated movie. There's a name for porn theaters. I'm not thinking of it right.
Adult theaters. I don't know.
Adult theaters would be one of them, but I think they had a real name. We actually around here had a drive-in porno movie place. You literally, what? If you drove by at the right angle, you could, you would actually get 3 seconds of sometimes, and when you're 17 years old, you thought, oh, wait a minute, let's go by there again. It was a weird thing.
That seems to be like it could have been this gigantic.
You were 18, huh?
That seems like it could have been some gigantic weird ass orgy.
I'm just saying.
We've got off the path here.
When I was around 33, I remember seeing like porn theaters when I was a kid, but they all kind of went away because you could now get them on the internet.
Video
games. When
I was 33, there was this porn theater on.
I don't even know the road.
Chambly Road in Atlanta. And on the sign it said couples get in free. Right. So I thought, whatever. So the woman that turned out to be my second wife while we're dating, I said, hey, let's go to the porn movie, and she's like, okay, sure. She was game for a lot of things. And so we go in there and they have like a section. They have a section like cordoned off for like the couples, and we're the only couple there. Right. And so there's us and there's like 9 people in the theater, and they're like all over the place.
Right, but there was 9 people besides a couple. She was the only woman in there.
Right. So, but this is the best part. Like 1 minute passes and all those 9 guys are like 3 seats closer to us. And then 1 minute passes and they move like 7 seats closer to us. They're all at the edge of the corner thing. Like,
unfortunately, if you've never been to one, it's hard to understand. But
Irina said, "This is creeping me out," and we left. That was my.
Who was the kid actor who got caught in one?
Shit. Oh, you're talking about Pee Wee Herman?
Pee Wee Herman, right? So
that's a child actor. Pee Wee
Herman, right? Pee Wee Herman got caught. Now it's not that you weren't allowed to be at one. He got caught participating. Let's just go that route. He was participating. In the.
I just lost Moustakis.
Now I lost my note. I lost my note.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be out for a while. I'll be amazed if he's not out for a while.
I have a question, and again, I don't know how long we'll go. Because it happened again, and it seems to happen more in golf.
Hit by pitch.
Loves golf.
Golf?
Do you guys have a problem with professional people acting human? And again, at the U.S. Open this weekend, a golfer got mad and broke his club. I love that shit. That makes me, and there are people out there that go, well, he's professional, we should know better. I don't buy that. They're all human, and pressure. I don't know. I enjoy when a professional athlete somewhat acts human. And I saw 2 things in the U.S. Open this weekend. I saw someone break a club, which one of the best things ever. But I also saw a guy make a full swing at a ball. Now the ball was in the rough, The guy hit the guy made a full swing. He topped the ball. The ball literally went 3 inches and rolled back 2. That's my game. I mean, there's something about watching a professional when they do something that you go, I could have done, I'd have done that, but what about athletes acting human? Baseball players that, that break a bat or throw the bat down. I think I've seen that twice just this week where the guy pretty much ran all the way to first base with the bat and then just heaved the bat down on the ground.
I love that.
But I'm just amazed at how many radio shows will talk bad about that it's not professional or it's not sportsman. Do you guys have a problem with our athletes acting, I'll just use the word human or normal?
Not at all.
Yeah, I think you're getting not at all. Can I elaborate and do another?
Why did they bring it up on local sports all the time? Like, I just can't believe it. I'm trying to think of the golfer's name that broke the club. I mean, they just act like it's just the worst, most unprofessional thing to do instead of, just being a human.
I was interacting along a similar lines, but not exactly the same about this complaining about people acting a certain way. I was interacting on George Hutchman's site about roto imbeciles, and somebody posted about like the USA Women's World Cup blowing out this team.
Right. I have that next. I mean,
it's the same sort of thing. It's like people were complaining about like them running up the score on these guys and how inhuman that was. Even though they don't play it anywhere else, and the way soccer works is the tiebreaker is based on the number of points you score, goals you score. So you actually have to run up the score to ensure your spot. It's not like a win isn't a win. A 4
kind of like that Monopoly knowledge that you have. Nobody else knew that.
I do know that.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Points are the tiebreaker in the round robin part of the soccer tournament. Now, Doug, here's the argument on that. Now, I mean, before we go, is there anybody else has a problem with people acting human? And I not only think it's okay, I find it amusing and enjoyable and all that. Did any of you guys go that far to where you go, that was cool? Meaning, I'll play it in my head over and over watching that guy, breaking.
I don't have an opinion either way. I mean, it's a sport. It used to be, it's supposed to be competitive. So, it depends on how far you take it. But if somebody breaks a club, they break a club. Break a bat. Who cares? There's so much stuff going on in this world today. We need to complain about this baloney. It's just crazy.
Well, but in football, I don't think it happens as much because of the helmets and on the field. And it's more of unfortunately, football's still the most team-oriented sport, meaning all 11 guys were trying to do something. So it's harder to act out as an individual thing that you do wrong.
But they've toned down their celebrations for touchdowns and everything too.
Well, but to me, that's even now. See that I take that the other way. I don't have a problem with the celebrations. I'm glad they do it. But
neither did I. I'm just saying
I don't find them amusing like I do.
It shifted away from the amusingness of the potential touchdown celebration.
Do you think so though? Because they did all those games last year. Like you had the guys that were doing that
was stupid.
Kansas City had a bunch of things.
I thought that was. Where they're doing where they're actually, here's my problem.
They do the bowling thing, if they, they all
my problem with that versus one person celebrating, I'm fine because in his mind or when he had his free time, he come up with it. If you choreograph something, that means 10 of you had to stop and take time to choreograph this versus saying, let's work on a play. That's kind of my argument about a team coming together to do some 10-player bowling thing. To me, if all 10 of you are going to get together, let's work on a play.
Well, easy. Allen Iverson said it best. 20, 30 years ago? Practice? You think those guys are practicing that hard when they're at practice? The professional athletes, of course, they're practicing these celebrations.
I enjoy the individual celebrations more than the team ones.
If you don't know it, you work for ESPN. Fuckers.
All right. Now, Doug, the issue with the girls' soccer, I heard people that didn't complain about them scoring 13. What they were complaining about was that they were cheering at the end of 11 and 12. They cheered like they were the first 2 goals they had ever made in the game.
You and I the other week, I know it was last week before, we were sitting here jawing, just the two of us, and watching women's college World Series, right? Softball. And we made the note that if you watch women's athletics at any level, you watch gymnastics, you watch softball, a lot of cheer everything. It's like you get the third out of an inning, you would swear somebody hit a walk-off home run. That's how they're coming out of the dugout.
women.
It's like the women is the part of the culture of women's sports.
I'm not going to put women in general.
They cheer themselves on, and
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. That's what they do.
All right.
So they were doing the same thing at the soccer thing. The way it looked to me, it's like you score a goal, and in soccer, even though they put up 13 goals in that game, it's still a pretty rare enough occurrence that you can cheer it.
Well, my guess is that not enough people are watching this women's game and that they're trying to get hits because apparently that's really what the world's all about. I mean, negative. It's the truth. Negative. Hey, easy. Negative attention. Everybody thinks it's positive attention. So, I mean, if you can get a few people like me that won't watch a soccer game because, they're cheering, then that's what they're doing.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's what's happening. I mean, that's
losing Dan. I hope it's not me. I hope it's just Dan. Poor Dan. Sorry, Dan.
Dan's like Jim's in there. F the shit.
But
I was just going to add with the soccer, I don't have a problem with them celebrating, and I didn't even have a problem with them scoring. But I think the one issue that I would raise is why they didn't take out their top tier starters.
Yeah.
Or change up the rotation.
A little different than other sports. Obviously, you can't put them back in. That's when you do a substitute.
True, and you're only allowed 3 subs at that level too.
So,
but they could have done something, move like the midfielders up to the forwards, move players around on the.
And I do follow the World Cup. I had it on TV today at work. I mean, to me, it's a big sporting event. Happens every 4 years, so I will follow it. But I still don't know enough rules other than I kind of knew there were some limitations. And yeah, to me, right, it's a health thing. You want to protect your girls. But at the same time, if you think you're in a tough bracket for the round robin, you got to get as many points as you can get just in case there's a tie or something like that. But right, to me, it's a health issue to a point. You want to protect those girls, a little bit.
So I have a question for you. So getting back to what I just said. So for example, the first thing I saw when I don't watch this, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not going to try to pretend I know anything. So the first thing I saw was how good they were all these postings, and they're going to defend. I guess they must have won last time, correct?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So then now we got this whole sport. They scored so many points. So now I guess they're into whatever round. And now I saw today, I don't ever click on these things, guys, by the way, because it drives me absolutely nuts. But now they're saying they're going to go into some tougher matches. Is that true if you know soccer, or are they really just going to coast?
One, they are still in the round robin bracket. They have to play.
That up.
Yeah, they have to play each team in their bracket one time, and then the best, I forget the best 2 records of that bracket move on to the next. If I'm not mistaken, the World Cup, it's round robin, then a bracket.
No, it's group stage, and the top 2 teams automatically move on out of the group stage, and then there's the 2 or 3 best third place teams in the Women's Cup that also advance into the bracket onto the
actual bracket
out of the group stage. Yeah. So like in the case of the US, they, depending on how they play against Sweden, if they win, they obviously get I think if they win or tie, they win the group.
Right.
So they'll play the second place team in another team.
Right. That gets you a better seeding for the bracket.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wrong then. I thought that went from a round robin back to another kind of round robin situation, and then they bracket you with the third stage technically, but maybe I'm just thinking.
No, after the group stage, it goes straight into a bracket format.
Single elimination at that point?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. All right.
What are they going to coach was my question.
Yeah, they do have a tougher game left in their bracket.
I thought they would coast. This game against Sweden is probably their toughest game in the group stage. The bracket looks like they might play either Spain, and I'd have to see who they would play if they finish second. But for the most part, with that first game of 13-0,
the 13
they're pretty much a shoo-in for the first.
But that gets back to what you were asking, Easy, not to cut you off, Dominic, but I'm not a fan. So what you're asking is like they show these things about them. You're asking why these shows are talking about why they're celebrating too much. I think it's to get someone like me to go, oh, well, maybe I'll watch a game. I still won't. Probably. But like I thought all these things I saw. First, the thing I saw a few weeks ago is they're so good. And then I saw the beating. And then the next day it was like, oh, these girls did this, that, and that. And I was like, whatever, who cares? But I just think they're trying to pull people that don't watch these sports, whether it's golf.
I don't know.
Didn't a tight end win the golf competition this weekend?
A what?
A tight end. I actually watched like 20 minutes of golf, and there's this
U.S. Open.
Yeah, it was a big guy. Didn't that guy win?
He was a big guy that had never won a championship before. Actually, I think it's his first tournament win altogether, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, ironically, I was at a bar for 20 minutes riding my bike. I pulled in, I ate some food, and it was a very bad 20 minutes, by the way, because Tiger Woods missed a very, very, a putt. He missed a very, very bad putt. And then who's the other guy? Nick, whatever. He missed the shot. And then this gigantic dude came on. And I was like, who the hell is this? He's like a beast. And then he ends up winning it. I checked on Monday. I was like, that's the guy I saw.
Yeah. But if you don't like soccer at all, see, I'm not a soccer guy, so I don't watch any soccer.
I watch soccer.
I do watch the World Cup. And I've had this discussion with you guys before. I don't have to be a fan of the sport to still get excited about the big events. I don't watch gymnastics much, but I will watch the big events. I love gymnastics. And that's my point. I will watch the World Cup because it's a big event, and I'm going to cheer on the USA, and starting tomorrow, I'm going to boo for everybody else. But JR, I don't know that there's a way to get you to watch. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you're against it, you're not going to watch regardless what happens. Even though I would tell you the reason to watch is the Brazilian fans. They have some of the hottest fans in any sport there is.
Now you're getting closer.
You can scan a sold out Chicago Cubs game 50 million times and not find the same 15 real hot girls they'll find in one Brazilian soccer game. Because there's a different thing there. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating, especially in Brazil, they dress up for the occasion, meaning there is I don't even know what to say it, but it is a thing it's a thing to be the attractive girl at the
light crowd
thing. It's you want to get on the board. You want to be the, it's I'm just saying.
Everybody wants to be somebody, right? Yeah.
Brazilian soccer fans, it's a big sport for them anyway. I mean, it's their national sport. So they do pack the place. And I'm just saying they're a very, I don't think higher class than baseball fans or anything else, but it's, they definitely do dress up for the occasion. And I find that somewhat entertaining.
That was a great comment because that's how I knew about 2 months ago that's exactly how you weren't a gigantic baseball fan. So I'll never forget texting you the same time we're watching a day game on our packages.
Yeah,
you saw these girls, and I'm watching a baseball game, and I'm like, where are these girls? I'm watching this dude pitch because I'm trying to figure out
what's going on.
He's throwing, and you're like, those girls back there. And I'm like, what?
Oh, right. Right-handed batters, whenever they would go over the go. And they must have been there for one person. I'm trying to think because once somebody came up to bat and they finally paid attention. They were on their cell phones the whole time, and then somebody came in later and like batted, and they were like paying attention and filming him and doing all that stuff. And as soon as he batted, they went back. They were gone. So they were for like Puig or somebody. I don't know.
I was watching baseball.
Yeah, what's baseball?
I was like, this dude's just a Cincinnati fan, so I know you're getting your information from somebody.
No, I'm Hey, I listen to some baseball podcasts. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So I don't anymore, but
I don't. And again, are you one of those that believes that using, Fantasy Pros or Roto World and some of those is cheating?
No. But I've been playing this for freaking almost 17 years. I don't care what these clowns say on Fantasy Pros. I've met a lot of these people.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean their opinions sometimes aren't right.
No, I'm not saying that, but they're similar to almost every other person. There might be a few spots of difference in their rankings. Like Lenny says, when Lenny says don't use the rankings, I'm not saying don't use the rankings 100%, but I'm about 75% on board. I mean, that's why I own Escobar in all these leagues. And now people are saying, Escobar's good. I was like, what? Escobar's been good for 2 years. Right. You know what I mean?
I think that there's enough difference that's noticeable in fantasy baseball rankings because people play in such. There's the difference between the types of leagues make a huge difference. The difference between a 10-team league and a 15-team league makes a huge difference. The difference between a points league and a roto league makes a huge difference. There are guys that it's like there are guys that are important cogs in my 16-team league that aren't rostered in my 12-team league.
But you can't compare that. You're comparing two different things.
And that's the reason why you get different ideas on the rankings, because some guys, I mean, I've always said that when you do rankings, if you're going to do rankings, and I've avoided doing them to date in my life anywhere, is you should rank for the 10 and 12-team leagues, because that makes up 80% of the players. The problem is that most people who are doing broadcasting are playing in the 15, 16, 20-team leagues. And so at that level, there's a lot of discrepancy over whether you like, Devin Smeltzer more than Eric Fetty. But they're both important in those type of leagues.
Well, but that doesn't make sense to what you just said, because a lot of these guys that you just said are broadcasting are playing in 15, 16 league. But Eduardo Escobar should have been drafted. If you played fantasy baseball last year, these people saying that he shouldn't be are crazy. I drafted him.
I didn't hear. I mean, admittedly, I don't listen to hundreds of podcasts, and I didn't hear anybody say he shouldn't be drafted. I mean, I've heard people say that he was the 8th best, whatever, third baseman or.
What do you mean? He was the third week of the year. He was like the biggest pickup. I'm like, the biggest pickup.
Yeah, because you have to be, for the bulk of the leagues, you have to be in 12 top leagues. If you have to be in the top 10 or 12 third basemen to be picked
the
up.
average.
And so, yeah, because in 40% of leagues or 60% of leagues,
right,
somebody decided that somebody else was the number 11 third baseman instead of Eduardo Escobar. They thought he was the 14th. What's the big deal? But he's not rostered in those leagues. Because
now, Dominic, I know you do some baseball and a lot of football. Do you listen to many other shows or podcasts other than Lenny, or when it comes football season, do you listen to more than one or two, or do you ignore them all and just do your own?
I don't necessarily say I'd ignore them all, but I listen to them to maybe get perspective on players I wouldn't normally see. Being on the East Coast like JR, it's hard to keep track of all these guys on the West Coast and sports in general. So at least getting some sort of idea of what they're going to do or what they've been able to do, I think is important.
But I also think it's important to the type shows you listen to. And that's why I started listening to Lenny. Lenny is different, but at the same time, and Lenny has even said, people have said, Lenny, why don't you do a show on, I'll just make two week starters, and Lenny's like, well, I don't do that. I give you all the information and I'll let you decide on the starters. But that's my point. I use both. I listen to two podcasts that specifically I know on Sunday, they're going to talk about, the 2 week or the 2 game starters for this week.
2 week starters.
And I'm going to listen to them to get a few opinions, but then I'm also going to take what Lenny talked about, usually those guys too. Meaning, I think both help me make the right decision, or at least a better decision than if I made it on my own, or just one or the other, meaning, they'll come right out and say, hey, here's the best options for this category this week, and blah, blah, if they're available, and I know Lenny's also against the, top pickups or top drops of the week and all that. And that's fine. I don't need Lenny to tell me that, but I do listen to 2 other podcasts that specifically have that topic, every Monday morning, or whatever. And I combine that information. That's the way I do it. I try to find multiple podcasts and or serious shows or whatever that have different opinions, so that helps me kind of filter my opinion then. And by adding my opinion, I don't want them to make the decisions for me, but I want to hear more than one person's opinion, so that's kind of how I do it.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And apparently I need to call you, because if I'm missing something, maybe I've quit on almost I haven't listened to serious fantasy for, I don't know, almost 7 months. Like, I'm kind of trying to do it my own way, and I'm not going to, there are some weeks where I kind of quit, but like, if you're, maybe I should do something better.
I happen to have a job where I can listen to something all day long. I'm in between customers when my phone rings and I can get tied up. But my point is, I can kill on average 4 or 5 hours a day. I have something in my ear listening while I'm doing paperwork or doing quotes or doing my stuff. And so I do have the opportunity to maybe listen to more podcasts than everyone else. And I just know that I'm going to listen to this, and this, and this on Mondays, because they're going to give me tips for the rest of the week. And then I'm listening to Lenny every week or every day, because he's giving me information on, player. Lenny gives information on baseball in general. To me, it's not even necessarily fantasy talk. It's just, the information I need on baseball. I don't own the big.
Well, he gives you the information you need. Like, what information he gives you is exactly what a fantasy baseball. Once again, there's a difference. There's a difference, Dominic. There's a difference, Doug, between football and fantasy baseball. Fantasy baseball is harder for a reason. Like every single day, like he's giving me the information that I look at on my way into work. You got it. You get up. You got to know who's coming up. You got to know who's hitting hot. I go through, and I'm not lying. I go through every single damn game on my phone on my way into work. Right. I have to know what happened. Pitches, hits, blah, 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 blah. And that's what Lenny probably did back in whenever he started, 94, 95, 93.
Right.
And I don't know if some of these people that are on any of these serious stations anymore are even doing this. You know what I mean? Because they got like a 3 months, if that, focused on baseball. They just move right to football, which makes zero sense. I understand why they do it. I do. Right. But we don't even know who the running back for any of these teams are yet, except for maybe 5. So I don't care about training camp, and I don't care about it. I want to know who is the hot hitter now that's been called up for the Cubs, or is just not even called up. Like David Bote. I mean, he could just be all of a sudden, well, he's hot. Let's roll him out for a week. Right. So I mean, he's giving you the information as a fantasy baseball player that you need to know, especially if we play week to week.
Right, but it's even Fantasy Pros. Fantasy Pros, I've been a subscriber for a while. It's not, it's not expensive, but it's not inexpensive. But, once a week, roughly, I make sure I log into Fantasy Pros, usually on Saturday or Sunday. And then, I click on our league and I click on best available. I just want, and it just gives me obviously it's based on their rankings and their.
But you would get the same thing if you clicked in the Fantrax or clicked in the ESPN or clicked in Yahoo.
Sure, and that's my point.
You choose
my point is, I need that information. I can't just.
So you are kind of cheating.
I can't listen to
Fantasy Pros. I like Fantasy Pros because what they do is
they play them in French cheaters.
They amalgamate all the bunch of different sites. One of the problems with people's rankings is that if you are somebody on the outside, like there are people that are on the inside of the fantasy industry, we all know who those guys are, and Lenny's one of those guys. People are going to look to see what those guys say. If you're outside of that, you need to make a name for yourself somewhere. So you got to kind of be wacky in your picks. You got to go.
The problem is,
I'm going to say Alberto Mondesi number 2 because
that is going on.
Everyone will remember that, it doesn't. It's going okay, but.
Right, but Fantasy Pros uses
those guys are all weird. But what they do in Fantasy Pros is they take all those guys and now together.
They take all the rankings.
It takes that we're trying to make a name for ourselves thing out of the discussion.
Right, because it's like 30 different people in any. I mean, at the beginning of the season, it's like 120 people that are putting in their rankings. This time of season, it's less than 30 because even in the professional ranking things, people are not less people are ranking now than they were before the year started. But that's my point. I don't just use Fantasy Pros. I just don't use the 2 or 3 main podcasts I listen to, and I don't just trust Lenny. I use all that information. So
what are you doing to yourself?
What?
What are you doing by yourself?
Kicking your ass.
Besides watching Cincinnati fucking baseball games.
I'm kicking your ass all by myself.
I don't know. You just told me that the Fantasy Pro. I'm playing against Fantasy Pros, Lenny and Lou Landers.
You answered it wasn't cheating before we went further. That's my point.
You didn't. No, you didn't specifically ask that question before. Now you've kind of like broadened the whole thing.
But at the same time, I trust me. I've looked at Fantasy Pros and it'll say these are the top available people. But
you're right.
But I still will go down to like the 14th when they're doing it. But this is the guy I've heard more about. This is the guy I like, and I this is also the guy I think I can get cheaper on the waivers. I mean, there's still decisions that have to be made. Now, that being said, I know there are other people that just say that's the top guy. I'll take him. And that's it.
Still beating me.
I know you're beating me, but that's okay. We're close though.
Actually, we suck. Neither of us need to brag. You're 193 average to my 212.
Yeah, you need to be. My offense kicks in eventually at the end of every week, and I got big Dallas Keuchel coming up now. My $6 pickup. That might
wait for you to play that clown.
I have to play him. I think on Friday.
Well, you better play all your players against me. I know. I'll give you $100 just to knock.
If ratios are really off in my advantage, I may not.
Here we go.
I'm just saying because I don't think he's going to come out and strike out 7.
He doesn't strike out people anyway. He doesn't strike out people anyways.
Right. What I'm hoping
Fantasy Pros didn't tell you that he wasn't a big strikeout guy.
I'm hoping for wins and ERA, but I'm not sure I'll get that the first game, especially against Washington.
Washington, right?
Yeah, Washington on the road. thing's it's questionable.
Hey, Lou told you to play him, so play him. Easy.
Yeah,
I think you should play him.
Lou said. But
Hey, I streamed Merrill Kelly today.
I saw that.
I got balls of steel. You got balls of steel. Come on.
Again, when I win all the money in this league, if I send it to you, will you send me back maple syrup from Maine? That might be the important thing. I'm going to need. I
don't even care about, like you said, I don't care about this money. These cats take this stuff too serious.
Oh, that's what everyone says.
I just want to play.
Everyone.
I pulled up Keichel's minor league record. Dallas Keuchel.
Yeah,
it looks like he did pretty well in those 2 minor league starts.
He did.
I don't believe so. One start, no. One start was horrible. The second one was good.
The first one was quality start level. I mean,
I don't care about quality starts. That's a new fantasy thing too.
No,
I believe he gave up like 4 runs.
Okay, but he let up 3 runs in 7 innings in his first start, and he let up in the second start no runs in 7 innings.
The second start was good. The first one, I didn't think was very
great. The second start was great, but the fact is, here's a guy that was sitting out for a while. He's pitching 7 innings already, and these numbers are not horrible by any stretch of the imagination.
Doug, speaking of that, did you see how many pitches they let him pitch the second start?
No, I did not.
100 and something.
100
and something pitches. Minor league start hasn't pitched.
Those are the things.
This organization are morons.
Well, they know they held him for a year. It's kind of like the Cubs with Raul.
Paid him $20 million. You can't if you're going to make it to the playoffs and you're going to pitch him 100 and something pitches.
He's already got 2 months off. He'll be fine. But the truth is, this lends me to think you're probably pretty safe starting him on Thursday. Is he going to throw
Friday night?
Is he going to throw a 1-hit shutout? Probably not. But
I hope he does.
Are you going to get 7 innings and 2 or 3 runs?
I got to keep Jay. I have to keep
5 strikeouts.
At a minimum, I need to tie you this week. It needs to be 5-5 at a minimum because that means you'll still be behind me. So that's the important part. 5-5.
Like I said, easy. I have a good feeling. I've been looking at my team. I'd see the matchups. My team's not that great. So I think you'll beat me. I'm winning right now, but you know what? I'm crazy. I'm going to stream some pitchers. I'm going to do some crazy stuff. You'll win the race. You'll win the race.
We're going to start wrapping up because you have the shirt on. F, marry, kill. F, marry, kill. The Black Ranger, the Red Ranger, or the Blue Ranger.
I thought the Pink Ranger was the hot one.
Yeah, but none of the ones I said were female.
I don't know the Rangers.
You don't know the Rangers?
Beth bought me this shirt.
Come on. The Black Ranger's the badass one. So that's the one you have to marry.
That is easy, no.
The Red Ranger, he's just hot blonde. So that's the effer.
The Pink Ranger.
I'm kind of weirded out by this. Did you watch Powerpuff Girls too?
My oldest son grew right up in the peak of the Power Ranger phenomenon. So I've seen the couple Power Ranger movies and used to watch all the shows and and I'm a turtle guy too, the Cowabunga dudes and all that.
I like the turtles.
I'm into the turtles. Now here we did the F, marry, kill last week, so I'm gonna leave Doug out of this. But Dominic, I did have one football one last week. F, marry, kill. And last week, I'll explain this. Last week I did these, and I actually did a little research, and I put certain people together for different reasons. So I'll give you the 3 names, and first you tell me why you think all 3 of these are named together, and then you can F, marry, kill them. Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson, or George Halas. F, marry, kill, and why are those 3 together?
Why are they together? I'm gonna guess 2 sports stars.
There you go, and those 2 sports were both football and baseball.
Mm-hmm.
George Halas. And all 3 is now I was thinking, is Bo Jackson? I think is he in the Hall of Fame of either?
No.
Deion Sanders and George Halas obviously are both in Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
But F, marry, kill. You have to marry one, which means he's going to be on your fantasy leagues all the time. You have to F one, which means he's going to be your player for maybe the Super Bowl one season. And then you have to kill one that you just never can use ever in fantasy. And he's going to be on the guy you play in the Super Bowl.
Oh, I've always been a Deion and a Bo Jackson fan, so it'd be tough for me to.
I know.
It'd be tough for me to pick one over the other.
Well, all right. One you get to sleep with, and the other one you get to sleep with every night. That's the nice part. That's the nice part. I'm assuming then George Halas is just out of the mix on this one.
He was just too far before my time, so I
And mine too.
don't
All right.
necessarily have any
He
sort
was
of.
one of the first great multi-sport athletes. And if I'm not mistaken, he probably, if I'm had to guess, he probably was good at soccer and tennis also, but I don't know for a fact. All right. So you got to pick. I'm giving you got one or the other. Let's go. Dion or Bo?
Probably Dion and then Bo.
All right. What about you, JR? Do you have an opinion on these football JR, I'll ask you a different way. I think Dominic answered based on football. I'm going to have you answer it based on baseball.
Okay. So
we did decide.
My question to you is it a healthy Bo Jackson?
Sure, you can have a healthy Bo Jackson.
Oh, well, then I would probably. How's this stupid game go again? I'm going to kill that other old timer.
Right.
And I'm going to go Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders.
All right.
And actually, to correct it, easy, I went by FSU because Deion's the FSU guy.
Oh. We did never get to speak about that. My favorite game ever was Florida State versus Virginia Tech back in 98, 99 when I was in the military. You asked the question, but then you kind of carried on. Sorry.
That's all right.
Remember that one, Dominic?
I know.
Winky versus Vic. God damn,
yeah.
Vic was so good.
I struggle with Florida teams in general.
Well, I was in the military and I was in Virginia. So I was in Virginia the whole time Vic was there, so I had to know about him.
We have two Florida guys here. Two Florida.
I'm a Florida college alumni.
What?
I saw when
you're a Florida Central.
West Virginia actually came down to play UCF at a game when Culpepper was there, and I always say like Michael Vick was the best athlete I ever saw play football.
In college?
In college, yeah.
100%.
There are only two big name teams that actually came to Central Florida. We had to go to places and play. And we played guys like Alabama and we played guys like Nebraska.
I don't know. I
got to see Drew Brees and I got to see Michael Vick, and Michael Vick was the best of the bunch.
Do you know how many holds weren't called when I would watch a freaking game against Virginia Tech? They had to stop the guys from. Vick was
the crazy thing about the game they was playing is that they were saying like he might not play because he has like 103 fever. But he played and he passed for like 85 yards, ran for another 140.
But he could throw if he would have listened and he was accurate. I mean, he could throw for like 3,000 yards. I swear to God, his arm was so big. It was crazy.
In my life, I've watched a lot of college football, and obviously I've watched a lot of great Buckeyes. I can't argue that. And a lot of Big Ten players. But at the same time, when I quickly think of the best college, I didn't see in person, but I remember never getting enough of watching Herschel Walker. There was just something. I mean, when he was at Georgia, I wouldn't watch Georgia football anytime. But when Herschel Walker was going to be on TV, I didn't want to miss that game. I mean, he was one of those college football players in my lifetime that I wanted to watch Georgia play, to watch, Herschel Walker play.
He was great, but I always go back to like the lines. I always go back to the lines, man. I mean, I'm sure he had a great. He was good. I'm not saying he wasn't good, but I'm telling you, they were not a great superior offensive line for Vic, and he was still good. Like I got to take that in consideration. You have
Walker didn't have the best offense.
Oh, come on, he played for Georgia.
Herschel Walker was a man amongst boys, even in college.
Yes, he was. I'm not saying that. I'm not denying that.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not. I quoted. I mean, I didn't see him in person, and I'm not even saying he's maybe the best I've seen. But I just remember college-wise.
There's a bunch. You got Adrian Peterson. I mean, like in Oklahoma, he just like ran through everybody. It was like there was nobody there.
But we're a little bit older, but easy. The guy that always comes to mind to me is Earl Campbell at Texas. He looked like nothing could stop him. The
problem with when you go back that far is TV shows. We didn't get a lot of that around. Right. Meaning, I only got Big Ten back then.
I only saw him in like they would broadcast nationally like the rivalry game,
right?
And then he would be in a bowl. But in both those things, he looked pretty darn awesome.
Dominic, other than your own team, what's one of the great college football players that you think you've watched? And not in person. I'm good with TV, or just like I'll do the way I said you. Meaning, if you knew they were on, tonight, and your team was on tonight, is there anybody you would say, all right, I really want to watch my team, but man, I kind of want to see this happen too?
No, because I'd always go with my team.
All right, I kind of.
Oh, he's lying. I know half of those Florida State. Dude, that's another thing of what I'm saying. This is the rise of this is. Hey, Dominic, but you have to agree. This is the rise of Virginia Tech. Like, you guys got to remember, Virginia Tech was playing against who? Like Florida State. Like they didn't have that, dude. I'm telling you, those other teams they were playing against, like Vic was fighting for his life because they were.
I mean, I follow a lot of football.
We're talking about athlete. Like
I do not remember Michael Vick though until he was with the Falcons.
I remember. Who was the best?
I remember
the
best
Florida State guy you saw.
Huh?
Florida State's had not hundreds. They've had dozens of really great players.
Yeah, but the defensive linemen back in we're talking about 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000. Their defensive linemen, their defensive players were incredible.
Yeah, their defense was better.
So what do you mean? They had Warwick.
No, I'm just saying, like, pick one guy from all the FSU. That's a tough thing to say.
You can't, though. I don't know. The best guy was probably like a cornerback.
No, but Deion
I'm asking an FSU fan this.
Is Deion?
Yeah, Deion is.
See, I remember watching Deion was a good college player. I mean, I remember thinking, I remember watching Florida State to watch him. And that's my point. I do remember people and not a lot of them, meaning there was a handful in my lifetime and there's probably been a lot, but there's also been a lot of great college football players that I just never saw, and some were Heisman Trophy winners. Just
I'm sure
either they weren't on or I just wasn't. And again, it's even back to Herschel Walker. And maybe you guys will prove me wrong. When's the last time it didn't seem like the Heisman race was close, or at least could kind of go either way? Or when Herschel Walker won, it was the other guys might as well not even shown up. It was just he was that much better than everybody when he won the Heisman Trophy.
I think it's a different game now.
I think teams do a better job of publicizing their players.
Well, I think it's a different game because a lot of Alabama, for example, they play like 6 or 7. I'm not saying they're not good; they're great, but they play a bunch of cupcake teams.
Sorry, Kevin, I've been ignoring the chat room. He's right. I do remember watching Barry Sanders for Oklahoma State.
Wasn't it like what's that bowl game that they play in Fresno or something? Like he played in some weird bowl and he ran all over the place.
Yeah, Marcus Allen also was a great college. Now, Marcus Allen, wasn't he USC?
Yeah, he was.
Yep, USC. But you guys are pulling out the big names. I mean, you had Curtis Enis from Penn. If you're a college football player, listen, there was a 10-year stretch where I was actually Curtis Enis for Penn State was a big. You guys remember him?
Yeah,
he's a monster. You know what I mean? You guys are pulling out guys that.
One guy that comes to mind is you remember Edgerrin James? Like he didn't even play for Miami. They had a game that was like hurricaned out, and their running back got started.
Oh, it's because they had too many good players.
Yeah, their running back got injured like in week 12, so he only played in one game, that makeup game, and he ran for like 244 yards, and then he got drafted to the pros after one game. He played like a couple of handoffs before that, but it was like that was an impressive one game.
Right?
Yeah, well, just like fantasy football, it's easy. Well, you just got to get a chance in football.
He turned out to be a pretty good pro player too. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you got to have a chance. You got to have a chance. Next guy up.
One more, and we'll wind down. Dominic, this one's a little easier. F, Mary, kill. Sugar cookie, oatmeal cookie, chocolate chip cookie.
Oh, it's easy.
Growing up, I probably would have gone with the chocolate chip cookie first. Sugar cookie second.
So again, you get one of these cookies for the rest of your life. You get one for like the most special occasion, and that's it. And the other one you never get to eat again.
Like I said, growing up, it probably would have been chocolate chip first, sugar cookie second.
Now, you weren't a Chips Ahoy guy, right? You're talking a real homemade chocolate chip cookie, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah, Toll House.
But now, I mean, haven't had a cookie in forever. It seems like so.
Dominic, you in this?
He's healthy. Don't you remember earlier in the chat?
All right. Oh, I got that. Okay, now I got to ask then. What are you on? What kind of diet are we on? What are we? And I don't like the word diet. I mean, are your eating habits obviously no sugar? It sounds.
We doing a kale cookie, Dominic?
No, not at all. I wouldn't even call it a diet. I mean, I just try and eat right. I try and limit the garbage that I intake.
Okay, and now here's my argument. Now, and I'm not bad for 57. I'm about 185 pounds. I still am athletic. I do a lot of stuff. We pretty much stay away from processed. When I say processed foods, so that makes fun. Meaning we cook everything. Meaning if I'm going to eat a cookie, my wife made it. You know what I'm saying? Now, yeah, there's still people, and we don't eat a lot of cookies. We don't eat a lot of cake, but but at the same time, I won't eat any food that pretty much came in a box. Tonight I made chicken we ate broccoli, and a salad, that kind of thing, so I don't eat processed foods, but I struggle that no sugar, I still need to, it's still nice to have a homemade cookie, once every other week or so, or.
Yeah, but easy as a fan. I was joking with you, Dominic, about the kale cookie, but as a fan, this is something you do not want to go down, because it's funny you say this, and I'm sure Double A as a former MMA trainer. Yeah, F him. But it's a weird conversation, because I have a vegan fan. I have myself. So this is it's kind of like talking about politics. You could have a bazillion different people.
Well,
I'm not going to lie, guys. I just eat whatever. My grandfather, he ate whatever. And don't get me wrong, he ate a lot of garden food, so maybe it's a different thing. Then you have people that they pick up the thing and they're like, well, this says this, that, and that. Just because it says this, that, and that, they'll go buy something that says 3 ingredients, and then they'll buy that. But I'm not sure if I believe the people that are putting these products out that they're actually that. But so it's a huge argument. I don't even know if we could solve in 5 minutes. But
we're not going to solve it. I know he said twice now he doesn't do the sugar thing. Sugar, again, I don't eat as much as the average person, but at the same time, a good homemade, and I'm not, I went, unfortunately, I'm a chocolate chip cookie without the chocolate chip part. I like the chocolate chip cookie because it's not as sugary as a sugar cookie, but I just don't like the chocolate chips in it, which my daughter makes me here periodically. I get chocolate chip cookies without the chips. So.
My 2 favorite chocolate chip cookies, I got a lot of you guys, are from Subway and McDonald's. I don't actually eat McDonald's. My kid
McDonald's
does.
Doesn't have chocolate chip cookies. They have chocolatey chip cookies.
Chocolatey cookies?
I have no idea what's in there, so I've never actually eaten one of those. But that's what's on their menu: chocolatey chip cookies.
Yeah, see, I haven't eaten fast food in 10 years.
I'll eat fast food for breakfast, but then I'm in the worst shape of the 4 of us by far.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. I don't know. I didn't want to go that route, but I eat garbage. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's fine.
I was okay.
Chinese food's my favorite food.
Again, it's a whole nother podcast. We're not eat what you want. Hey, but I try to stay active. Like I said, softball a couple nights a week, and got rained out last night. Man, I got all the way. The first games got in. By the time we got there, the rain, a couple bolts of lightning.
I've always said that people say that the proof of God is intelligent design. If intelligent design existed, then cheesecake would have omega-3 fatty acids.
I believe that. I'm not a cheesecake guy, but I believe that.
That'd be the thing.
Unfortunately, now again, the one simple thing is to me a little bit. Now here is, that 2 or 3 ingredient in a package is kind of it. A steak only has 1 ingredient. I eat as much of that as I want. That's, a chicken only has 1 ingredient.
That's not true. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
No, it is true. If you get a chicken, if I go down here to the farmer lady who I get my eggs, I get some chickens from her out of her freezer.
Where he lives.
It's a chicken.
Correct. If you go to some place like Walmart and you get a chicken, then it's totally different.
But that chicken has salt and water added to it, and then whatever that was in their food. And
you know why, right? I mean,
makes them fatter quicker.
No. It all originally started with sales, because let's say, for example, when everybody said, let's put a date code on something. That's what I'm saying. This is a horrible conversation. I eat whatever. When they said put a date code on it, and then people started putting a date code on it, but then they started having to throw it out.
Boo.
Don't ask me the question, motherfucker. Go buy your goddamn chicken down the road.
It's almost midnight, and we're a sports show, and 2 big things happen outside of baseball, and you didn't even talk about hockey.
And we're not talking about it, Doug, because I'm going to bed.
Right.
I'm just saying it's weird.
What happened? Well, no, that's what's supposed to happen.
I love you, Cha-Cha. Thanks for being out in the chat room. You and Doug had a good conversation. I don't know about what, but they were Cha-Cha.
So what happened? Is that what was Cha-Cha giving us shit for not talking about it?
I don't know.
No. It was not about sports at all. It was about things
Cha-Cha's worried about people coming on my show and not.
When I was on Twitter, Cha-Cha only tweets he threw out wasn't about sports. It was about goddamn chicks with big asses. So I don't know why he's being freaking whatever judgmental.
Right. I'm just saying. All right.
I would say it was more housekeeping than that.
I had fun. We had fun tonight. We talked mainly sports. We did pretty good. I still have. I don't want to get to it. Coming up, one of the next few roundtables, I want to talk top battle scenes of films.
Are we talking Supernatural next weekend?
Yeah, Cam brought it up, and he
I
thought
understand.
the Game of Thrones big battle,
Oh
best
god.
battle ever filmed, and I wanted to debate that a little bit. So one of these days we're going to talk
Dude,
movies.
this isn't even a debate. There are only 2 films
Wait,
in
we're
this
not
world
we have-
that could be the best battle scenes.
okay, and you'll have
No,
to come
there's
on.
more
You'll
than
have to come on when we talk about
I
the best
can't.
battle scenes of a movie.
All right.
Your ass awake in a couple of weeks. So
I gotta work soon.
and actually, the first 2 weeks of July, and we debated about the whole month of July. Vacation. There will be no shows the first 2 weeks of July. So next week will be the last roundtable, at least for 2 weeks, because of vacation, and the 4th of July falls in that area somewhere. But Dominic, I'm glad you came back and enjoying the
Nice
show.
to meet you.
And I
Yeah,
hope
nice meeting you too.
hopefully you kick in too, because we didn't do the roundtable when football started last year, but. When we really get going and piss JR off a lot and we talk a lot more football coming up, I'm
It's not
excited.
gonna piss me off. It's just
Well, you probably need our help more than anybody.
well, apparently me and Dominic are right on the same
I would
par,
say
so I'm
that-
not gonna talk because then me and him being in the league will draft the same way. It doesn't
All
help.
right, you guys.
I don't mind being, easy sort of anchored during the baseball season because I can talk baseball all day. But when it comes to the point where it's all football all the time, you're gonna have to step up, Dominic, or someone is.
But it's like saying we're all baseball all the time. Now, you know me, we're not. I don't think there's ever going to be a show where we talk.
I think that what we should be talking about is whatever the news of the day is. And I'll tell you the truth. Like last year, I watched two football games.
You can bring up whatever. You can bring up a topic, and you could have brought up hockey. We could have killed 3 minutes.
Doug, everybody talks about the news of the day. Would you like to talk about the news of the day? Why would you want to do that? To get hits. Why?
I
who did
don't
that?
need hits. This show needs no hits. Dominic, thanks for coming on. JR Slice and Beth out there. I think it sounded like she was at work.
Cheers.
I tell her I appreciate my maple syrup, and Mrs. Easy's
Tell her
excited.
she's saving lives and she does a great job. Please, that'll make her feel better.
She is saving lives and doing a great. I appreciate that, and she obviously lets you cheat at Monopoly, but.
They play by some weird rules.
Mrs. Easy's excited to try the blueberry jam. So we got blueberry jam. We got Maine syrup. We got 3 different beers. Yeah, there's 3 cans of beer. Are 2 of them the same and one's different?
Yeah, Bangor Brown and an IPA. That's local.
Right. So I'll break one open tomorrow with Chris, and then I'll
We'll
save.
talk football with Chris.
Yeah, Chris brews beer. He's into that craft beer shit. So I'll
And there's no kicker.
And JR and again, thanks for staying awake. Where's your daughter? I didn't even see her walk in the room tonight. Usually your daughter walks in and kisses you to good night.
I hope she's sleeping because I got to go to work soon. My dog's moving around and I got to go.
All right. Doug, thanks for coming. The Dugout show on Saturday at 10. And then
we're on everything now.
Thursday nights with
you can get us on YouTube. You can get us on Google Play. You can get us on Spotify. You can get us on iTunes.
Everywhere.
We're on SoundCloud. We got on everywhere.
There's quality baseball shows. You're out there.
Yep.
And
there's not that much stuff to listen to that's new on Saturdays.
There you go.
Us.
It's you.
And listen to Lou after us.
All right. And thanks for the chat room. I'm Easy. I will be on again tomorrow night with Chris talking. I think we're up to like week 5 of coming up with the best fantasy football rule settings that you can have. So I don't know, Dominic, if you've been listening, we've fine-tuning how to set up the best league options for your fantasy league. So we're finally up to scoring. We'll be talking scoring tomorrow night. So that's tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Me and Chris, Fantasy Fan Sportscast. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Again, Dominic, really appreciate you coming back on, and make sure you come back on in the future, especially when football starts, because those other 2 guys, they're no help.
No problem. We'll do.
Lenny will be on tomorrow at 9, I've heard. And so, keep coming out. Thanks again to the chat room, everybody. I'll see you. Everybody say goodnight.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.